Here we go. We are back. This is the new season, season 2023 of the Uncivilized Art podcast, the first of the year after a little bit of a break. You know what? I actually did not plan on taking as long a break as we did. It just kind of turned out that way with Christmas and New Year's coming up. I figured no point trying to book people because everybody's doing their thing. And then I was actually away for a little bit in January. So it just kind of turned out that way. But I feel like it's a good idea to have a little break anyway. So here we are, the new season of the Uncivilized Art podcast. We're back, and I've got my guest, my faithful, ever loving friend, Sweet Bundy. Brother, how you doing today? How you been? What's been happening in this past few months? What's a guanin in Sweet Bundy's life? What's happening, man?
Man, I'm doing okay. I could be better. I could have more money. That would be great. But I am. I am what I am. I almost spent 10K doing damn house repairs recently. So I've been working my ass off to try to go ahead and make that up again. And yeah, I'm still standing like Elton John.
I'm still standing.
Nah,
Okay, so like you're renovating the whole house, or just part of the house, or
it was something stupid that started happening from a shower on the top floor. It was leaking and it was leaking for a while and nobody knew. And the moment I noticed, and I said, okay, I'm going to start saving up some money. I do have some money already saved up for emergencies, so I'm going to have that
mm,
repaired. That very night, all of a sudden, people downstairs start letting me know, hey, uh, there's a leak coming from upstairs. I was like, what the hell? So I called these people, these professionals. I'm not going to say the company, but
yeah, all right. I guess
I called a company instead of a handyman, and you know how they are. Every little thing. Oh, we gotta do this. Oh, we gotta do this. And they just kept racking up the price, racking up the price. And next thing you
mm.
know, by the end of it, almost 10K.
So it sounds like, and I'm kind of guessing here. Do you have insurance for your home? 'Cause it
Nope.
sounds.
I mean, I do, but it wasn't covered because it's considered like wear and tear rather than
Oh,
like
that
something that just,
sucks.
yeah. You know, insurance companies, they try anything they can to go ahead and avoid something.
Indeed, damn man, shit, 10K.
Yep.
10K. That's what's that? That's like I don't even want to think about. That's gonna be, it's whatever in UK money. Let me try and figure that out right now. But it's a lot. It's a lot. Whatever it is, it's a lot. And especially if you have to come with it on the spot as well. That's yeah.
Yeah. I was crying like a bitch for about a week, sitting in the corner listening to um, Radiohead and, just,
I'm
yeah, it
a
was some
creep.
dark times.
I'm a loser. That's not because I'm a winner. Actually, no, never mind. That's the wrong song. That's the wrong song. Okay. Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been away a little bit. I was in Pakistan. I actually got back last week. I weren't there for long. I was there for like 4 or 5 days. But I went to Karachi in Pakistan, and it was a good trip. I mean, I wanted to go. I've been wanting to go to Pakistan for a while. Like it's been on my list of places to visit for a while, mainly because it's a culture that's very different to what I'm used to, and I did want to experience something that's very different to what I'm used to. And I was kind of like, especially with the pandemic just happened and been through so much over the last few years, I kind of feel like I needed to be away. I haven't been abroad for a long time, and I really wanted to go away. And I was looking at things that I could do or things I could, afford and stuff like that. And that was relatively cheap, a trip to do. And I thought, okay, cool. You know what? I've been wanting to do this for a while. I can afford it. I've got the money. It's not too expensive. Let me just go ahead and do it. So I booked it and I went, and it was a good trip. I mean, it was definitely a very different culture to what I'm used to, and that whole kind of thing about be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah.
It did kind of felt like it for a little bit because, mate, it's like, but I mean, they have traffic rules, right? They do have rules of the road, but I think for me coming from the UK to go in there, it's difficult to figure out what the rules of the road are because the cars are just like everywhere, So cross the road, it kind of felt like is I want to say Frogger. Is that the game where you dodging stuff across the road? Is that the one?
Yeah,
Is that the
Frogger.
one? Frogger? Yeah, it kind of felt like that, where you just kind of, all these cars just coming at you, and you just kind of dodging that way, and then they drive on the left hand side of the road, right? But even still,
Hmm.
you see cars on the right hand side, and motorbikes just going everywhere, and nobody really stops for anybody. You just hear horns going off all the time, so you're just kind of like dodging back, running forward, and it's like, oh shit, what did I get myself into? But no, it was a good experience though. It was a good experience. Overall, I enjoyed it. I saw, poorer sides of it, and mate, the poverty out there is heartbreaking, man. It really is. Like, you just have a lot of little kids just like running up to you and, running, asking for money, and he's like 7 year old. I mean, I don't know how old they are, but they look like sort of 7, 8 year olds, maybe 10 year old kids. And at that point, they're probably been on the streets for their whole lives, or at least a good portion of it. And
Yeah.
all they know is, like, I remember this couple of kids came up to me, and as I was walking, and me clearly being not from around here, I kind of stand out. You know what I mean? So I got kind of used to, like, people kind of looking at me and saying hello and that kind of thing, and I just say hello back, and these kids were doing that, just saying hello, and so I said hello back, and I kind of walked off, and then I noticed one of them was following me, and he sat, and I sat down on this kind of wall, and he kind of followed me and then sat next to me, and he was just like talking for a little bit, and he was asking for money after a while, and I was asking him, where are your parents, and he just like pointed like off in the distance, and I kind of took that to mean one or two things. Either his parents have passed away, or they just abandoned him, or something. Because the next question I asked him was, where do you sleep? And he just pointed to the ground, and I was like, shit, man. Like, it's yeah, but
Yeah.
you see a lot of that out there, and they do have, like, richer areas, and I saw some of those as well. So it's definitely like any place you go to, you're gonna have poor people, rich people, but mate, it's tough when you see it a lot as well. And apparently, the hotel that I booked turned out to be some 1 star hotel, pretty much in the poor side of town. So yeah, if you do go out there, maybe do a little bit more research on a hotel you're booking. I mean, there was no issues and that like that, but it just meant that I saw a lot of the poverty, and yeah, it's tough out there when you're just seeing it all the time. Um, and I did give some money where I can, but yeah, you just get kids following you down the streets, and then start crying if you don't have anything to give them. It's yeah, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
oof. But yeah, it was a good experience. I think I'm glad I did it. Glad I saw that, because you hear about these things, but when you experience it firsthand, it's yeah, it's definitely a
Yeah.
big kind of eye opening thing. But yeah, be careful what you eat out there, because well, be careful what you eat anywhere, of course. But I can't lie, I did get a little bit ill on the way back. I did get a little bit ill. It was like my last day, and my belly just went.
Man,
So
it's
yeah,
always the last day that gets you.
for
Whole
real.
time you were clear of everything else, but it's
Yeah, do
that
you know what I mean?
last day.
It was the last day, and I did. Here's the thing about that, because I was doing some research about when you eat something to when you get ill, like how long does it take, and apparently it could be from 30 minutes to up to about 2 3 weeks. So literally anything you ate in the last maybe 3 weeks could have been a thing that made you ill. So there's no real way of knowing what exactly it was.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like, for me, that's like 3 4 different places I was in the world during those sort of 2 3 weeks. So it could have been anything. I mean, probably it was something I ate there, but yeah, it literally could be anything, and that's kind of the whole thing, that you just don't know for sure. But definitely have some good food out there. Can't lie, I had some real good food, but yeah, maybe some of it was a little bit. Cause but that last, I was waiting for the plane, and but the way my stomach just went, I was like, uh oh, something's not right here. Um, but yeah, maybe let me talk a little bit about. Oh, so yeah, just with that introduction, I probably should have said this earlier, but yeah, this podcast is mostly going to be talking about um 2022 and 2023 and some of our favorite things of 2022, some of the things we're looking forward to 2023. That's going to be the main thing we're talking about in this podcast. One of these days, I might actually get good at introducing these things and put stuff in the right place. But until then, here we go. um, but before we get into that part of the podcast, I do want to say I don't know if it's an update or something different, but it's just I guess something that might look a little bit different going forward, depending on how things work out.
Mm.
Because we've always I've always looked at this podcast as a geek internet culture podcast. And, literally says it on the thing, geek internet culture podcast. And my thing is creativity. That's my biggest passion, is creativity and expression and talking about that. So for me, it's always been wanting to talk to people in the geek space about their creativities, about their passions, and what inspires and things like that. But also talking to people who aren't necessarily related into the geeks world, who I think are just interesting, because to me, I feel like it's all connected anyway. And I did do that last year. I had a few guests that were not directly related to geeky stuff.
Mm.
But we still talked about some cool stuff, cool things. But the way my mind was kind of working at the time, because I wanted it to be geek focused podcast, when I booked somebody who wasn't necessarily too geeky related, I'll try and make sure I try and book someone who is more geeky related afterwards. But the problem I had is that not everybody answers their messages, right? Not everybody says
Yeah.
yes. There could be problems with arranging things, schedules and stuff like that, and then it becomes very, very difficult to book people sometimes. And so I feel like the one thing I want to do slightly differently this time around is just book whoever I can book. Just book whoever I can book. So I'm not sure how that's going to look as it turns out, but that's something that could potentially mean that we might have more of non-geeky guests, or maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe I'm overthinking something that doesn't even matter. But yeah, it's just something that could potentially look a little bit different to the people watching and or listening. I'm just going to try and book where I can book, whether they're a gamer, whether they're a comic book guy, whether they're a cosplayer, actor, or something else or whatever. Just people who I think are interesting and are available and want to do it, So I'm just gonna book who I can book, and then we'll kind of see how that looks. But yeah, so we do want to talk about 2022, 2023. Lots of stuff happened, of course, last year. Lots of stuff happened already this year, and still some stuff to go. But yeah, let's start with 2022. In fact, let me do something that I haven't done on a podcast before, which is this. And if you're listening, it's not going to make any difference at all. But if you're watching, it's hopefully it's going to look a little bit cool. Let me switch over here so it kind of looks a bit better there as well. So yeah, I am now sharing my screen because that technology. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about 2022 first of all. So I just put this on the screen as some games that got released last year. We're not going to talk about every single one of them, of course, because that would take forever. But Sweet, what was your favorite games of last year? What did you like? What stood out to you the most?
Man, it's an easy answer, and it has to be. It also injured my finger, by the way. Like legitimately, I almost tore. Like I either almost tore it or partially tore the tendon in my index finger because of this game,
Mm-hmm.
and I do not regret it. I do
Okay.
not. Even if I have to get surgery, I don't anymore. I don't think so because it's getting better after a whole month and a half now.
So the game
Oh,
injured you.
oh
You had to get
yes.
surgery,
No,
but
I said
it's what
I thought I had
you
to.
thought you had to get surgery. Okay, so you don't have to get
Yeah,
surgery before you had to get surgery, but it's still worth everything you went through to play this game. Is that what I'm
absolutely,
understanding?
absolutely.
Okay.
And that
Okay.
is God of War Ragnarok.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Now the ending
I
isn't perfect, but it's an amazing game. I had so much fun. playing that game. I was hooked deep in, just like the first one. Hooked deep in. Went through hell playing that game. Literal hell playing that damn game. But I managed to get through it. I 100% it. I got the platinum on it. I did everything you could do in that game, even the hidden stuff. The only thing I guess you could say is left for me if I wanted to be a 100% completionist. I mean, I completed the game, but if you wanted me to do every single literal thing in that game, it will be only playing it on the hardest difficulty. And let me tell you, I already injured my finger. I would only do it if people were trying to call me out in a mass. Okay. Other than that, I'm not gonna try to, risk losing my finger over this game, even though in the end I probably will say it's worth it.
Okay, so pretty high praises for God of War Ragnarok. So no, I didn't play that. In fact, I will say that I didn't play most games that actually got released last year. But yeah, Ragnarok is definitely on my list of games to try and get to at some point. Okay. But yeah, that definitely looks amazing. I mean, the trailers that I saw for it, and definitely interested in what they're doing. I mean, first, well, not the first, but the first of the new God of Wars.
Yeah.
When that came out back, was it 2016? I think.
No,
But
17.
2017. Okay. When it came out initially, I played it back then, and one of my favorite games at the time. It's just an amazing experience. So yeah, definitely looking forward to uh, God of War Ragnarok, or getting forward to that. I did remember they said that this is going to be the last of the Norse mythology God of War games. So did you feel? I mean, you meant that you said the ending was a bit iffy. I mean, did you feel that was at least a good closure, or was it just rubbish, or had you, or how was that?
It felt rushed. You know, obviously, this isn't really spoilers because it's in the title. Ragnarok. Ragnarok, for anybody that may not be aware, is pretty much for the Norse mythology
Mm,
a big event that happens between the gods where it's like war, and it results in the deaths of. It's supposed to, in the lore itself, not the game, but the lore itself, result in the deaths of major gods and characters of the Norse mythology. So in this game, they kind of bring a lot of those elements into its own universe and really go and build up this big event that's going to happen. Like that's the end goal,
yeah.
Ragnarok. Now, um, Kratos and his son, they're growing closer together, but at the same time, there's a lot more progress that has to be done between them, and they're trying to prevent Ragnarok from happening. And it just seems like it's inevitable. So they keep building it up over hours and hours of gameplay. Now it depends on how you want to play it. Some people they go straight to the end, especially if they're streamers, and other people they want to complete everything. Like me, I wanted to finish everything that I could before beating the story. And even after you beat the story, there's some stuff that you can't complete beforehand. So you spend a lot of time with these characters and hearing about Ragnarok and uh, feeling the dread and the impending doom of it because it's supposed to be destruction. Like Ragnarok is pretty much like uh, akin to a popular religion like the rapture.
Mm,
So when Ragnarok finally occurs, it's like that's it. You feel
mm,
this feeling of like this didn't have to happen so quickly and it's like you don't feel the weight of it because it was built up, hyped up so much. And it's not even so much that it was hyped up too much. I felt as though they just didn't do enough. They probably ran out of time. Unfortunately, a lot of games, movies, shows, they run out of time and budget. And I feel like, damn, it hurts because it's like they're not going to release DLC. They're not going to release a remaster where they're going to add more content of it. It's just going to be better graphics. And it sucks because I honestly, once I reached the end of, at least Ragnarok, I wanted more. It wasn't even so much as like, oh, it's so good. I want more. It was more like that was not enough. And I'm not even being greedy. That was not enough. So it was a disappointing end. Um, when you get to the true ending, I guess, or the ending that teases the sequel, it's heartfelt and bittersweet. But Ragnarok itself, the climax itself, should have been way more, way more. And they made some choices that I just didn't agree with. I felt like it was disappointing. And it's like, I wouldn't say it's bad writing at all. It's just poor choices. I'm one of those people that I feel like you shouldn't get rid of certain characters unless, if they still have potential to provide more. If they have potential to provide more to the story, the overall um, schema of, or even if they're not like key characters later on in the story, they still have more to offer when it comes to writing. So, eh, yeah, disappointing and amazing game, and I would play it again for sure.
Okay. I think I understand what you're trying to say about that. I remember way back in the day there was a game called Order 1886, which I think
Oh
I've
yeah, I
kind of
heard
felt
about
a
that.
similar way about that. Well, it wasn't an amazing game, but it's a pretty decent game. Um, but it by the time you get to the end of it, it just kind of felt like you said, is that it? Like it felt like it's. I mean, it's a short game, which for me wasn't an issue. It was more so much. It felt like it's not supposed to be that short. Like it literally felt like they just stopped. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like whereas you can have a complete game, beginning, middle, and end that just happens to be a short experience. That's fine. This game just felt like it just stopped. Like they
Yeah.
were making it and then it just stopped. Like that's what that's not the end. Like yeah, it just stopped. Like imagine you watching a movie and like 30 minutes it just stops and you're like where's the rest of this, like this just stops, the credits are rolling,
Yeah.
it's like what's going on, it's just stops. That's how it kind of felt. I think well, from what you say, it sounds like a similar kind of feeling that though perhaps in this case it's a much better game than the Order was, but by the time it gets to the end of it, it just kind of felt like perhaps I just ran out of ideas a little bit.
I honestly feel like with Ragnarok, they either didn't have the budget for it or they ran out of time. Like, they companies force these games to hurry up and rush. Like, no, we
Yeah,
have to make this release date, and it's like just let them cook, let them cook,
yeah, let them
and
cook.
they'll release something that people will never stop talking about.
Mm,
Let these people who are passionate about these games, shows, whatever, let them finish what
mm,
they set out to do. And you could get something legendary if you just give them the opportunity. Stop rushing. Stop fucking putting deadlines on things. I could understand a budget. You can't do anything about a budget. I guess you could do crowdfunding if anything, but whatever. When it comes to budgeting, I get it. But when it comes to time, trying to meet deadlines and be like, no, we gotta release at this, just fucking stop.
yeah.
That's
And you know
it.
what? I mean, I 100% agree with that. But I think the problem is that like when it comes to especially like these big budget games, like they have investors, they have all kinds of people that they gotta suck up to, and even
Mhm.
things like as much as we like from a creative point of view, we could just say like keep moving the deadline, like take the Nintendo attitude, just move the deadline as far back as you need to and to make a great game. Nintendo I feel like are in a unique position where they can do that because I don't believe they have as much investors. I may be wrong on that, so before somebody's like actually it's just I may be wrong on that. But Nintendo seems to be able to just be at least from what I can tell, be able to just be like, what, we'll push it back, we'll push it back, we'll push it back. Whereas other companies, it's like, we got to meet. They could push it back a little bit, but there's a point where we've got to release it, and then they may be crunching, and they may be having to do rush things, da da da. And yeah, it's a lot to do with like having investors, having a lot of like people just saying, look, we've got to show something, we've got to have something, we've got a window to, if it doesn't, how much hype is built up, and if and yes, so when there's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of people making decisions outside of the creators being able to say, hey, can we just do this? And yeah, it just goes so high up that unfortunately it's kind of like a necessary evil in a extent that if without that they might not have the money to even make these games, or certainly not make the games in the way it is. It may be that they can make God of War Ragnarok, but it's just not as polished, or maybe not as detailed, or maybe they don't have as good at actors, or you know what I mean, because the money's just not there. So when the money is there, you know what I mean, people want to see stuff, people want this, people want that, and it just becomes this thing where you almost can't have something without having the other thing, and it sucks. It sucks because
Yeah.
ideally you be able to say, look, we're making this game, we need this amount of time. I know we said we're going to have it ready by next week, but turns out we can't. Too many things going on. We're trying to make it as best as we can, but unfortunately it's just like that's not the way these corporate whatever work with that. So it sucks, but yeah, no, I agree. They should be able to do that, but unfortunately, yeah. um but yeah, that's so what was there any other games of 2022 that caught your fancy? Maybe not the best, but something that you thought was pretty good.
You know, I was sitting here and I was thinking about it, even, yesterday and everything. And I can't really recall any games other than that. I mean, off the top of my head, I would say Shredder's Revenge stood
Mm.
out. That's the TMNT game that came out to beat 'em
Yeah.
up. I had a lot of fun with that. Um, Soul Hackers 2, I was having fun with it, but I'd never finished it. Never finished it.
Mm.
I don't know why. I do plan on finishing it pretty soon. I'm currently playing The Quarry. So yeah, that came out last year. This is my first time playing through the game. I managed to avoid all spoilers of the game because when it comes to, first off, I just don't like spoilers. That's one. If I ever ask for spoilers on something, I have no intention on playing it, watching it, whatever. But with The Quarry, it was right up my alley. I fucking love uh, decision based games. However, with this game, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's fucking dumb. It's so dumb, and it's crazy because the music is amazing in the game, in my opinion.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if they were songs that actually existed before the game or if they were made for the game. I don't know. I didn't look it up yet. Um, but the characters are so fucking dumb. Some of the acting is kind of iffy. It's not as bad as Until Dawn acting, but it's a horror game. So it's fitting into the whole idea of the tropes of a horror movie. With teenagers, they're at a camp and then something goes crazy. There you are. And I was excited to play this game because everybody was like, when it released, everybody's playing it, everybody's showing their playthrough, and I'm trying my best not to watch and not to see any comments or memes about it, whatever. But now that I'm here and I'm playing it, I was like, for the at first, I'm like, yeah, this is interesting. But then eventually, I'm just like, what the hell? My choices don't matter. Like, no matter what I do,
Yeah.
like if I say, okay, they ask me, do you want ketchup on your sandwich or do you want mustard? I said, well, I want some mustard. You want ketchup. I'm putting on ketchup. It's like, what the fuck? Then
Well,
don't ask me. Don't
yeah.
ask me.
Yeah.
It's almost like you ever been in that situation where somebody say, "Hey, you want something from the store?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll like this." Oh man, I don't really have the money for that. Then don't ask me.
Yeah.
Do not ask me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you know, the Telltale games kind of do that a little bit as well, but I feel like they do a better job of at least tricking you into thinking your choices matter, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Here's the thing. Telltale, you could tell when, they're they don't really they want you to go to this point. So they don't do it as how can I say it? Basically what you just said. The illusion of choice is better. Cause you'll be like, man, all right, I chose this, and you think, okay, it's going in that direction, but then something happens, and you're like, fuck, we're in this place anyway.
Hmm,
And they do it a little bit better. Now, not as bad as season three sucked. Season four, I finally played for the first time in years, right? Like I never played it, and it was so funny because it's over a grudge. Um, when season three came out of the Walking Dead game, right?
yeah.
Telltale's. Somebody on the forum, they were like, "Man, you're complaining about season three and how bad season three is, but when the next season comes out, you're gonna buy it." I said, "Hell no, I'm not going to. I promise you, I won't." Season four finally
Mm.
comes out like a year or two, maybe three. I don't know. Comes out finally, and guess what? I do not buy it. No matter what, I do not buy that season, right?
Yeah.
And it's only until it actually released on Game Pass that I finally played it for the first time. And season four is great.
I
Not
guess you
perfect.
never actually bought it then, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I stuck to my word. I don't even remember the person's screen name. I didn't even know them. Never even had a conversation with them beyond that forum. But it's just something about me. I don't know. I guess I'm petty. But yeah, the
Uh,
quarry, your choices really feel like it doesn't really matter unless like you make a character die. And I want pretty much out of everybody in the game that I have control over, and they give you like a lot of people. I think about 5 to 7 people to control
yeah.
at a time. I only want one person to live so far.
Okay. So
Yeah,
the rest of them are all souls or something, or
yeah, I fucking hate them, like flat out. I can't stand them. All the other characters they suck. Even the character that I want to live, she sucks too.
all right. So it's just a bunch of all souls, I guess. That's what
Yeah,
I'm hearing. All right. All right. Okay. Let's see then. As for myself, so like I said before, I didn't play too many games that were actually released in 2022, and that's pretty much a trend for me. I think over the last few years, it's
yeah.
rare that I play games that, especially when it comes to bigger games, it's rare that I play them on the in the year they release. Various reasons for that. But unless it's like a day one Game Pass release or something, I'm probably not playing it on the year it came out. That being said, out of the 2022 releases, that wait a minute, 2022, yeah, that sounded like this. Never mind. Um, out of the 2022
Yeah.
year 2022 releases that I did actually play on that year, there's a few decent ones. I mean, Overwatch 2, um, kind of by default, it's up there because I played Overwatch 1 a lot back in the day, and Overwatch 2 came out finally. And honestly, my opinion of it is that it just did not need to exist. In a sense that they just could have
I
made
mean, they
a
kind of forced
update.
it out.
It's really just an update for Overwatch. Like it's nothing too about it. Like it's a few new characters, which they've always done. They've always added new characters, well, always, but they do often add new characters, new stages, some tweaks and things like that here and there. So there's nothing really that majorly different between Overwatch 2 and Overwatch 1. They just put slaps of 2 on the end. That's pretty much it. But it's a good game. I mean, I liked Overwatch. And I think if you like Overwatch, you're gonna like Overwatch 2 because it is really the same game, just with a few tweaks, new characters, and some new levels. So yeah, I played that. That was pretty cool. But I think my personal game of the year is Vampire Survivors, which was a really cool game. Um, it I mean, I guess it's pretty much like what it says in the thing. You try, or it says on the game. It's you try to survive monsters. I mean, it's called Vampire Survivors, but it is not just vampires. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's no vampires in there. I don't. I mean, maybe there is. I don't know, but it's
Yeah, I
all
haven't
kinds of
played it
monsters, and
myself,
none
but
of
I've
them look
seen
like
people play it
vampires.
though.
But it's a pretty cool game in the sense that it's very simple to get into. Let me see if I can find it actually. There we go. It's very easy to get into. The idea is that you play as a character. You don't have to press any buttons. You just literally just move with the thumbstick around, and your character will automatically fire out sort of weapons and defenses at certain intervals based on the attributes of each item that you pick up. And as you collect more, you could buy certain items to have from the beginning that enhance your character, and and different. You have different characters that have different attributes. And you have different tasks in order to get to each level. So it's a pretty cool game. I would say my one kind of gripe about it though is that as you're collecting money and you're buying stuff in the shop to enhance your character, it really doesn't feel like any of them make any real difference. Like the changes must be so incremental, like so small and incremental that it really feels like no difference is being made when it's telling you that you've got your health heals faster or something. And I'm like, does it or stuff like that. It's just how tiny of a difference it does it make. But nevertheless, it's a really cool game, and it's just really
Hmm.
fun to play. And you can find yourself, at least I did anyway, I found myself just for hours. It's just playing it and trying to collect stuff. And it's not one of these games that I mean, I guess eventually you unlock all the levels. But aside from that, you don't, strictly speaking, complete it. You just keep going and going until, you get enough of a higher level to unlock the next level. And there's no end. You just keep going and going and going. But I would say that, yeah, out of the games that I played for 2022, none of them are actually completed. Vampire Survivors is the one I probably played the most. Um, but I will say that for games that I played in 2022, the one that probably took up most of my time was a game that came out maybe like 4 or 5 years prior, which is Days Gone.
Okay.
I recently got the PlayStation Plus Premium service, which, although I guess on a surface level, people say it's not as valuable, it doesn't have as much value as the Xbox Game Pass, which I guess is true if you look at it purely by the numbers. But
Hmm.
I feel like, at least for me, when you look at which games specifically are available on the service, I feel like PlayStation Plus offers more games that I'm actually interested in on their service, and yeah, Days Gone was one of them. And yeah, like I say, this game came out like 4 or 5 years ago or something, and I liked it. I mean, overall, I thought it was a pretty good game. I felt like it was literally like a few bits short of being amazing, because it does have these, at least in my opinion, it felt like odd choices that it makes. Like it's kind of a survival RPG, but it doesn't really fully commit to survival mechanics. So, for example, you ride a motorbike throughout a lot of the game. There's no other vehicles you can ride. There's just a motorbike that you upgrade, and your motorbike would have different, like the different types of terrain would affect your motorbike, like whether you're on a wet mud, or whether you're on snow, or whether in dry ground, or things like that, affects your how you ride. But then, no matter what the weather is, your character's never affected. Like, you're literally just wearing this jacket, like this denim jacket throughout most of the game, and you're riding through snow with no gloves and a baseball cap on, and you never shiver. And it's like, it just feels like an odd choice. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it breaks
Like,
the immersion.
yeah, and of course, creative rights, creative freedom. I'm never going to be the guy who tells people how to create. They're well within their rights to make it this way if that's what they wanted to do. And perhaps there was a point to that I just completely missed. But for me playing it,
Nah, I
it,
doubt
it
it.
it felt like an odd choice when the motorbike is affected by the different terrain, but your character isn't. Stuff like that. Um, and yeah, just some of the narrative things they did as well. It's kind of felt like when they have these cutscenes, it just feels a bit odd with the way it kind of moves from one scene to another scene. It always feels like they're just skipping out a bit unnecessarily. Um, but I guess to be fair, a lot of these are just kind of minor gripes. They just kind of stood out to me because it just felt a bit unnecessary. Um, but again, maybe, just maybe, there is a point, and I'm just too dumb to understand it. But to my to my amateur mind, it felt unnecessary. But yeah, overall, it's still a pretty good game. 4 or 5 years later, I still think it's worth checking out. I don't believe, in my opinion, it's a must play, but definitely, especially if you've got the PlayStation Plus Premium service, or you don't even need PlayStation Premium. I went for PlayStation Premium, by the way, which is the highest option. I didn't need to do that. I could have went with, like, I think it's the Essentials. No, sorry, the
Yeah,
Extra option.
premium, right?
And yeah, Premium's the top one, and then Extra, I think, is the next one down. I could have went with that one, and I still would have had the access to the same amount of games. The only reason I went with Premium is because it had the streaming, like the cloud gaming service, and it
Mm.
turns out I'm not even. I mean, I guess I did use it, but I ended up not bothering too much with it in the end. So I literally could have just saved a bit of money and went with the extra win. But oh well, it's done now. It's done for the year.
That's odd
Um,
because I remember, um, like before they even came out with that, when I first had a PS4, or rather when I first started playing my PS4, which is, maybe a couple of years after the release or whatever, I was able to stream games for about like, I don't know if it was a time limit. I know for sure it was something similar to that because I remember I could play like 2 hours at a time because they had to share with other people. I may not be explaining it correctly, but
okay.
it was more than enough time for me because unless I was really, really into the game, I wouldn't play it beyond that time. I
Yeah.
remember playing this game called Catherine on
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know
their
the cloud
cloud
game.
gaming.
Okay, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, then maybe they just changed a few things since then. I mean, they kind of only sort of somewhat recently revamped the whole kind of PlayStation Plus
Yeah.
thing. Then, because it used to be, they used to have PlayStation Plus, and then they had PlayStation Now, which was the cloud gaming service. And then they kind of recently, I guess, as a response to Game Pass, kind of done this kind of revamp of the whole service where you got PlayStation Plus Premium, which now has the cloud gaming service on it, along with what they call the PlayStation Plus catalog, and classics catalog, and they got like they give different names to what's effectively the same thing, I guess, but you get different games, and there's some pretty good games in the service, like, so I say Days Gone is in there. I think Ghost of Tsushima is in there.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely got some heavy hitters, and that I'm looking forward to checking it out at some point. Final Fantasy VII is in there, old school game, but that's what I'm playing at the moment. Um, but yeah, that was my well, not entirely, but that was, I did play TM Shredder's Revenge as well. That was a pretty cool game. Didn't
Oh
complete
yeah.
it, but it was a pretty cool game for what I played of it. Um, High on Life, which
Eh,
uh, came out, I think, just at the tail end of last year. That was a pretty cool game. I got to a bit where I kind of got stuck, and honestly, I'm not overly bothered about even trying to complete that game. It's fine. Don't get me wrong. I certainly don't hate it. It was enjoyable while I played it. But sometimes we get to a point in the game, you get stuck for a little bit. You just kind of think to yourself, do I really want to bother? What I mean? Do I really want
yeah.
to bother? It's kind of like that. And maybe one day, I'm not saying never say never, right? But and maybe I'll get back to it and get past that bit and try to complete it. It's fine, but yeah, I'm not overly concerned about that game right now. I will say I'm a bit more concerned about another game called Deathloop, which came out in 2021, but went on Game Pass in 2022 because I'm feel like I'm pretty close to the end of that game, and I got stuck on one level where it's so stupid, and it kind of pissed me off what they're asking you to do, where you have to. There's this guy that you have to kill, right? Um, but in order to kill him, that everybody's wearing a mask, so now it's like masquerade type party thing. So you have to trick him into revealing himself so you can get him, right? But the thing is, you can literally just go in and kill everybody in the room anyway, right? You can literally just go, and I've done that. You just kill everybody in the room, and eventually get him if you kill everybody. But it will still be like, no, you have to get him to reveal himself. It's like, why though? Like, why? I could just kill everybody. But it wants you to get him to trick him into reveal himself. So I'm trying to do that, and it's like every time I've tried stealthing and this that, and the other, I either end up killing him accidentally, because you don't know which one it is, and sometimes there's somebody in the way, or maybe they see you. I have to try and get them before they alert everybody, and it's like, oh, you killed this guy, and it's like, flipping now. Or either that, or somebody spots you and you get killed, and it's like, flipping now. So yeah, that bit's pissing me off right now. It's less about not knowing what to do and more about the fact that I don't want to do it that way, and it's forced me to play in a way that I really don't want to do. And when I'm trying to do it, it's just. But yeah, that I'll say I'm a little bit more concerned about trying to complete it eventually. Although, yeah, it's just pissed me off. I haven't played it for a little while, but give me some time. Give me some time. Eventually, I'll try and get back to that.
Yeah, I played High on Life. I didn't really enjoy it too much. The gameplay, fun as hell. Gameplay is fun, very fun. But the comedy, not so much. Um, the voices. I mean, I like JB Smooth. I like the last two guns that you get. Not so much the pink one. Um, I know you say you didn't beat it, so I'm trying to avoid spoilers in case you care about it or anybody else cares about it. But yeah, JB Smooth, I was happy to hear that he was in the game. I'm quite sure there's some other voice actors that I'm just not remembering or not
Mm,
noticing because a lot of these voices were familiar. I just didn't have the interest enough to go and look and find out. But overall, I was thinking the game was going to be funny as hell. Just like Trover Saves the Universe, made by the same guy. I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be funny. I can't wait to play this game. And then there's like two terrible things. One, at least on the Xbox One,
mm-hmm.
the it, everything is fucked up. It's laggy. It doesn't run smooth. It sometimes the game will just flat out crash.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Voice lines will be abruptly cut off or come in delayed. Just a whole bunch of technical issues. And I heard that there were jokes about bugs in the game, and I never got to that joke. Even though I beat the game, I never got to that joke. Or maybe it skipped over by accident. I don't know. But it became unbearable at times where I just flat out. At first, I was streaming the game, and then I just flat out said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm not going to stream this. This is unplayable at times. I'm not going to put anybody else through this shit." And I get frustrated easily. So if you're stopping me from playing the game because you don't have your shit together and the graphics are not even that fucking good, no, I'm done. But
Yeah.
I do appreciate Game Pass because that's the reason
Yeah.
why I had the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I
For sure.
love Game
Same.
Pass.
Same.
I'll always
Same.
praise Game Pass. But yeah, it really made me honestly. It's the comedy that was disappointing more than anything. Um, it just didn't come off funny. Like I didn't find myself laughing. I laughed a couple of times, but at most it was like a chuckle. I don't
Mm,
remember having like a out loud laughter. Now
mm,
Trover saves the universe, however. First off, it looks way better. Never had any technical issues that I can remember off the top of my head. And it was funny as hell. I'm talking about I, Trover Saves the Universe had me laughing so many times. I do remember just flat out just having to pause the game because I'm laughing too much. And that's what I wanted from High on Life. I thought, okay, now if it had that style comedy, even with the technical issues, I would have been like hooked on the game.
Hmm.
Even with the technical issues. In fact, I probably would have bought it on PC or something so it could run a little bit smoother. But this game, High on Life, I would never choose to buy it. Never. I wouldn't even want it as a gift. If somebody said, "Hey man, I got you this game. I heard that it was running poor on the Xbox, so I got it for you on Steam." I'm gonna be like, "Man, you could have got me anything else." Honestly.
Yeah, just give me a tenner. I'll get something else.
Like shit, return this.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, High on Life though. I guess we kind of brought up High on Life. We talked a little bit about Days Gone. So it kind of feels like perhaps we should kind of mention some of the controversy around those games. Are you aware of what happened with High on Life? Well, not so much the game, but more the creator of the game.
Yeah.
Um, what's your thoughts on that? About the accusations being made? For those who don't know, real quick, was that Justin Roiland was accused of all kinds of madness, like was it assault, kidnapping,
Kidnap.
was it
I didn't hear
kidnapping?
about the I didn't hear
It was
about the kidnapping.
something detaining somebody. I might be mixed my details, but it was definitely. Oh, you know what? Let me do this because
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about kidnapping though.
all right. But yeah, domestic abuse charges. There we go. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that? And uh, in terms of like, does that affect how you view the game? Does it affect how you view maybe potentially future games, or what's your thoughts on that sort of stuff? I mean, clearly it's bad, but,
Yeah. I'm getting to a point where, I'm getting older and I'm just exhausted from like every time when somebody, you find out something that you enjoy is created by somebody that did some horrible shit, and now you're not supposed to enjoy what they created anymore.
Mm,
I'm exhausted. I'm tired. It's like I'm afraid to even talk about certain shows because I'm like, yeah, this person that wrote this is a little crazy with their comedy. So who knows? They might actually be a little fucked in the head. And it's like I'm just worn out. I want to like I like Rick and Morty, for example. I fucking love Justin Roiland's voices for some of these characters, even if people go ahead and talk about how it's so repetitive and everything. I don't care. If it works, it works. It's funny. It's funny to me. I like his character from Adventure Time, Lemon Grab. That was my favorite character from the entire fucking show. And I don't care what people have to say about that taste. I fucking love that character. So how I feel about it is like this: the shit that I like by him, I'm gonna continue to like. Whatever I want to play, if he releases another game, another show somehow, I doubt it because Adult Swim already said, well, he's not gonna finish Rick and Morty. We are. So they kicked him out of his own show,
yeah.
and they're even going to get new voice actors, everything, um, which is going to be interesting. I'm going to give it a shot and see where it goes. But whatever I like, I'm going to enjoy, and I'm not going to go ahead and care about the creator if they're caught up in some bullshit. I didn't read too much into what he did. I gave it a glance and saw that was some stupid, fucked up shit, like domestic violence. I don't know what he did exactly. I just know it was domestic violence that they said. As far as like him talking to an underage girl, you know, I read the text messages, and yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a lot of shit he was saying is like, even if you're joking around, like, boy, what were you thinking?
Yeah, certain things you
It's not
can't
even
joke
so
about.
much as like people bringing it, pulling it out of. what was it? Moving it out of proportion, pulling it out of proportion.
Take
What's the
that.
right word?
Take that from the text.
Blowing it out of proportion. Um,
Okay.
it's not even so much as that. It's like no matter what era you're in, really, unless we're talking about the 1930s or 40s, like with Jerry, um, the guy that died that made Great Balls of Fire.
Oh, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis. Unless we're talking about that kind of era, it's fucked up, taboo, stupid, inappropriate, all that. So
Mm.
they have every right to go ahead and be jumping on his ass for that because he was saying some stupid shit. It wasn't like where when a comedian says something or they do a controversial joke. Like I saw people trying to bring up the movie Adam Sandler, right, with
Mm-hmm.
Click. How
Oh yeah, yeah.
Rob Schneider, he always did the whole racist kind of thing. He will like pretty much blackface. You know, uh in that movie specifically, he was playing like somebody from the Middle East. And he was in the makeup and doing the accent and everything. And then also they had a joke that could be considered transphobic. And you try to go like, yeah, this is the person that did this. And it's like it was from a different time, son.
Mm.
We can't just be crucifying people for what we were like. Everybody pretty much was laughing about that shit
Yeah.
back then. Those
Yeah.
text messages with Justin Roiland and that I think it was a 16-year-old. It wasn't funny.
Yeah. It's
It
it's
wasn't
just
funny. It
inappropriate. I
wasn't even
mean,
like he was trying to. I don't know if he was trying to make her laugh or what, but either way, it's like,
yeah.
what are you
Joke on.
doing?
I mean, I feel like there's certain things you just don't do. Like, I mean, I know for myself, if I've gotten DMs from somebody, especially when it's clearly that it's somebody young, you know, I'm not like entertaining that kind of thing. Like, it's just. I mean, I ain't trying to act like I've got like bare people in the DMs trying to. No, it doesn't. It's not like that. But a
Mm,
few times somebody's hit me up in the DMs, and they've been saying some stuff where it's like, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm just not.
yeah,
It starts off like, oh yeah, I like your video, I like this, I like that. They're cool, thank you, blah blah blah. And then sometimes it might go into, oh, you're real. I really like your voice, and it's just sexy about you, stuff. And I'm like, I'm just not gonna
yeah.
respond.
Anything
I'm
inappropriate
just not gonna
like that,
respond. I'm
it's
not gonna
like,
say.
what the fuck?
I'm not gonna say this is inappropriate. I'm not gonna say. I'm just not gonna respond. You know what I mean? Just dead it, just dead it. Because it's like, one, I don't know you. You look mad young. And it's like, just dead it. Like, if the moment you say any, it's like dead it. Like, first of all, I don't really want to be communicating too much with people in DMs, like just in general, because I'm not sure. I don't think it's a good idea. Certainly, if people I don't really know, you know what I mean. But if we say stuff like that, it's like, nah, just dead it, just don't respond, dead it. That's it. It's like, don't even, because whatever you say at that point, even if you're trying to say the right thing, just dead it, just don't even. And that way,
Yeah.
if anything happens, all you're gonna see is like somebody says something and then it was nothing. There's nothing, just dead it. So like, I mean, that's kind of my sort of general attitude. I mean, of course, I can't talk for what other people do, and clearly, sometimes you hear about some people who, getting all in some madness in these DM conversations, and it just gets them in trouble later on. I'm like, nah, I'm not even trying to do that. I'm not even trying to do that. Just dead it. Just dead it.
Yeah.
I said no response. We good. We good. I don't need to find out how old you are to find out what I can say. I don't need to know. I don't need to ask you for ID just to make sure. No, I just don't even like. No, 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 no. That's it. That's no. But yeah, it's mad when you hear about some people, whether celebrities or content creators or whatever, and nah, nah. But yeah, I mean, just your point about still be able to enjoy. I feel it is important to be able to I mean, I want to say separate the artist from the arts, because I don't feel like it's that simple. Ultimately, if you're an artist, you are always going to be a part of your art. and your art is always going to be a part of you because that's where it comes from. You know what I mean? So there's no
Hmm.
separation in terms of if you create something, it's going to be from your experiences. It's going to be formed from the things you know and the things you've done and the things you like and dislike and things that's happened to you and this, that, and the other. So whatever good, bad, in between things that happen in your life, that's going to be in some way a part of the things that you create. So I don't believe you could just separate the arts from the artist in that sense and say, well, I like this and I don't like that. But at the same time, I do think it's important to be able to understand that because you appreciate a particular piece of art, knowing that that's come from somebody who's maybe say highly toxic or whatever the case may be, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in agreement with it. And I think this is where a lot of times people kind of mess up, assuming that because you like a piece of art, that must mean you support everything that artist does, no matter how crazy or wild or wrong it may be. And I feel like that's not quite the case. Although
Yeah.
I can accept that there's a part of that toxicity that goes into the arts that we appreciate, that doesn't necessarily mean that because you appreciate the art and that means something to you, and that's something personal to you, that doesn't mean that you're in support of bad behavior. You know what I mean? Feel like human connections and human understanding of art and self and people is can be complex. It's never that simple as because you like this, that means you support that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I guess with the current thing with Hogwarts Legacy, if you play the game, that doesn't mean that you hate trans people. You know what I mean? It's you could appreciate something, and you could appreciate the creation of something, and what that means to you on a personal level. Regardless of what you may think of the person. Well, technically, it didn't really come from Jake. I know she's not the person that created it, but from the whole kind of Wisdom world and from her brainchild ultimately, because you appreciate what that's come of it. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in support of absolutely everything that this person said. You know what I mean? You can have a separation of understanding that there's something in there that speaks to you, knowing where it came from, even appreciating that it may not always come from something nice, but there's still something in there that speaks to you. That doesn't necessarily mean that because of that you must love everything that this creator has ever done, and you can't ever question it. You must be, you know what I mean? There are shades of areas,
Hmm.
shades of areas, shades of gray.
No, I got what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm like I say, I've kind of not would say I've given up on Hive Life, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll get back to it. But whoever's deciding, I mean, by the way, I will say this as well. Like, I do feel like I don't have an issue with people saying things like I don't want to play a game because of something that somebody's did. I feel that's well within everybody's rights to do so. But at the same time, I do feel like you can still, if you choose to do so, have an understanding of this is something that I appreciate. That's not something that I support, but this still means something to me on a personal level. You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was kind of a bit of a rant, but hey, that's what we do. That's what we do. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about games we're looking forward to now for 2023. And I guess a few games have come out already because we're February. It's actually 10th of February as we're recording this. This may not actually go live. In fact, it almost certainly won't go live on the 10th of February. So there may be some games that have come out in the time this actually goes live. But yeah, what are there games that you're looking forward to for 2023? Are there games that are out already that you're enjoying? What's your 2023 gaming looking like?
Oh, I definitely want to play that new Harry Potter game, which is funny because I never read the books. I remember my grandmother had got me the book, like the first one. At one point, she was like, "Yeah, a lot of people like this. Maybe you will too." And I didn't give a damn. I didn't read it. I don't even think I started reading it. I don't even know if I still have the book anymore. It'd be nice if I did. I don't know. But I didn't give a damn. I didn't care about wizards and witches and all that other shit. I didn't care. Even the name of it sounded stupid. Harry Potter. And even when they came out with the movies, never watched the movies, whatever. This is what made me interested in the game. First off, I like RPGs. I especially like
Mm-hmm.
RPGs where it has a morality system where you could choose to be good, you could choose to be bad. And as far as I know, that's the deal with Hogwarts. Now, another reason, and this is a big reason, and I don't care what anyone says, unless you're one of us, so to speak, you're not going to
Yeah.
get it. The black hairstyles
Oh
are
yeah, 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 yeah,
so
yeah.
accurate. And I know it sounds silly to some people who are not, one of us, but you have to understand, since uh, speaking from my perspective, since I was a kid, I've been playing games. And you rarely, if ever, see accurate black hairstyles.
Mm.
It's always because it's always people who are not black designing them, usually,
So
right?
cornrows or afros, that's your two choices.
Yeah, always. Like GTA San Andreas is like the only one that I could think about that did them fine, that did them good, that did them
Mm.
accurate. And that's a game that came out years and years and years ago, back on the PS2. Okay. Um, since then, you would even when they had cornrows, sometimes the cornrows would be all fucked up. I remember on one of the WWE games, they had the cornrows, and there's like space all in between the cornrows, like no hair,
Yeah.
as if
Yeah.
a barber just braided them and then shaved in between the braids. Um,
Yeah.
uh, even in the NBA games, the 2K games, the black hairstyles in that are kind of crappy. To be honest, they're kind of crappy. And that's crazy for that to happen. So yeah, like to see a game really go through a variety of hairstyles, and when it comes to the black hairstyles, they look good, they look
Mm.
accurate, they look fresh. It's refreshing. It's something that I appreciated and it stood out to me. And I'm like, I want that. I want to play that game. I'm interested in this game. I
Um.
don't know shit about Harry Potter except for like a big spoiler or two, and that's about it.
I'm speaking of that actually, kind of a side note because I've noticed that as well. I would say that personally, um, it's not something I've particularly cared about because I guess I very rarely spend that much time in the creative character sections anyway. So, but it's some, but yeah, it's something that I've noticed in recent, like with Deathloop for example, like the was it Juliana, the way her hair is done is really kind of like nice as well. So it's something that I've noticed in I guess a few modern games where the black hairstyles they've put more effort into them, which is cool. But what do you think in terms of like? Do you think that's more to do with just developers being lazy, or do you think that's just more to do with the technology at the time not being able to handle it, or maybe some combination of the two? Like, what's your feelings on that?
It's a disconnect. It's not even about the technology because I've seen like Fable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fable has a hair option where you can have cornrows, and they did them pretty damn good. I was impressed. Even though your character couldn't be black, as far as I remember. Yeah, your character couldn't be black. He had cornrows. I got my character walking around with some fucking blonde ass cornrows and was so accurate. So I was like, wow, I'm amazed. And it's just about the people who are designing the games. They're not taking the time or even have the interest in really designing natural black hairstyles. And when I say natural, I'm not talking about an afro. I'm talking about haircuts that we have. We don't got a bunch of fucking stars in our fucking hair all the damn time. That's certain people, certain celebrities or whatever, or showboaters. You know, It's almost like saying the typical hairstyle for a white person is a mohawk. It's
Mm.
not that damn common. Give us some natural hairstyles. If you don't know how to do it, then I don't know what to tell you. Even
Yeah.
like for GTA, right? GTA 5. The dreads in that fucking game are shit. They're crappy. They suck. It look like fucking cheese doodles hanging on with a damn string. It doesn't move right. It's not at the right length. It sucks. And with all the stuff that you could implement into the game now, all the technology and everything, that shouldn't be an issue. So I honestly don't think there's
Mm.
a limitation. I think it's just people who are designing these games, unfortunately, are not really connected with, let's say, I guess, black people's hair.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'll say I think that's probably like I said, it's not something that I've paid a whole lot of attention to, but things I've kind of noticed over the years. So yeah, that sounds about right in terms of like when certain things are being done. And I guess when you have a team of mostly non-black folk, as it kind of has bedded in sort of certain in a sort of in older games is being more diverse now, but back in the day it's kind of more like that. Um, I get it. You just think, okay, we're gonna have some hairstyles, throw some hairstyles in there. Nobody really kind of things to say something like, well, maybe we should do some research into stuff, because there's nobody there to maybe point it out. And I think that a lot of people kind of say this thing as well, like it's kind of the value of having a slightly more diverse crew. Is that the right word? Crew?
Yeah.
Staff. We're going to start. Yeah, one of those words anyway. But yeah, it just means people could point out things that you might not necessarily think about, and of course, not just racial diversity, because I know that's kind of what people mean when they often say diversity. It's not what I mean. I mean actual just diversity in terms of like, yeah, racial diversity, gender diversity, economic diversity. To people from all kinds of different viewpoints, and of course, depending on the type of game you make, and every game has to have everything. I'm not saying that, but certainly if you are making a game where you have options of characters and creating characters and things like that, yeah, it's kind of beneficial to have consultants, if you will, from different areas that might be able to let you know of things that you might not think about, and that sort of stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Um.
For me, the reason why it was important was just because, like, when it comes to character creation, I always loved that part. I loved getting immersed into my games, and especially RPGs, getting immersed into it. I loved as much as you could let me control. I love it. Um, so any character creation that was really well put together, I could spend an hour on it easily, each and every single time. Easily an hour. So I remember when I was a kid, I used to avoid making certain black characters because it just didn't look right. It never looked right. Sometimes the nose will be fucked up because they think, okay, this is how a black person's nose should be, and it'll be the hairstyles. The hairstyles are not good. So it was a whole bunch of shit. Anytime when I had a black character, usually it just didn't. It looked like some. How can I say it? It just looked
Mm.
like, you know what, flat put it to put it bluntly, it just looks like a white person with a real good tan. A
Yeah.
really really dark tan. That's what it would look like. It never looked like how I would envision it, how I wanted it to look. So it's almost like it, it's almost like seeing a historic moment to finally see some good black hairstyles
Mm.
and feel like we made it
Yeah.
after all these
Finally,
years.
after long past, we're here. We've arrived. Yeah.
A single teardrop falls. Finally.
Yeah, I think for me, myself, when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy, so I've seen all the Harry Potter movies. They're fine movies. I think they're pretty okay. I enjoyed them when I watched them. I've read one of the books, which was The Goblet of Fire, and I thought that was an excellent book when I read it. Um, very, very just it's very metaphorical, and just you could really kind of, I mean, well, all books I guess have their metaphors, but it just felt like you could really get out of it what you put into it, so it
Hmm.
can mean whatever you need it to mean. And I feel like when you can write like that, it's like no wonder these books do so well, because it could mean so many things to so many different people. But yeah, really enjoyed reading that book. It's the only one I read. I probably should have read the others at some, but yeah, I never did. But yeah, so I would say that I like Harry Potter. I don't particularly consider myself to be a Harry Potter fan, but yeah, I definitely like what they've put out. I've enjoyed that book a lot. I enjoyed the movies. That they're fine. That being said, I've never bothered with Harry Potter video games. They've just never appeals to me in any kind of way. So I've never bothered with them. There's been a few over the years, and just all of them I just didn't care for. So when I was hearing about when I was hearing about Hogwarts Legacy, my mind was at another Harry Potter video game I don't particularly care. Um, and but then I saw a trailer for it a little while ago, and I was like, what, this actually looks pretty awesome. Like, from
Yeah.
what I'm seeing in the trailer, it looks like they've made a really solid game. And when the reviews started coming out, and it was getting like, I mean, what did GameSpot give it? I think it was like a 9. Of IGN, I think, gave it a 9 or whatever. But it's been getting pretty. Okay, that is a wrong one I clicked on. But anyway, it's been getting pretty high scores around, and even though I've not played it, just from what I've seen of it, I'm not surprised. Um, okay, GameSpot hasn't actually reviewed it yet. Never mind. But Metacritic apparently got 86, so yeah, pretty high. Um, so yeah, I'm not surprised, because from what I've seen of it, it looks amazing, just from what you said about the characters as well and things like that. Of course, there was the whole controversy about it, and we kind of talked about it already, but it looks incredible. Now, I'm not necessarily big into RPGs in that way, so they tend to be games, for the most part, I avoid, because they're longer games. I don't always have a lot of time to play games. There's definitely a few RPGs that I've really enjoyed, and like I said earlier, I'm playing Final Fantasy 7 from 1997. I'm playing it now, because yeah, reasons, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably going to take me forever to get through. So for me, I feel like with Hogwarts Legacy, it's never say never, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, probably almost certainly not going to be buying it this year. I don't think. But I think at some point, yeah, I would like to check it out. It looks incredible. It looks amazing. It's been getting a ton of great opinions on it. So yeah, I feel like at some point I would want to check that out. But yeah, probably not anytime soon, just because, well, yeah, time, time.
Yeah, me, I
Uh,
would have to decide what I'm gonna buy it on. If I'm gonna, wait until I get a next gen console, or if I'm gonna just say screw it and get it on PC.
mm.
So that's the only reason why I don't have it yet.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, do you have the PS5 or?
Nah. And after what I told you with the house repairs, I'm not planning on buying the
Oh
PS5
yeah,
just
yeah,
yet.
yeah. So maybe wait till you can get real cheap or something.
Yeah, and,
But then
and
drop the
plus now
price
it's
all the way
tax
down.
season. It's like, oh boy.
Okay. All right. So with 2023, then, is there other games that you are looking forward to that are either maybe just come out or about to come out or whatever?
I don't know if it's coming out this year or if it's coming out next year, but I want to play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I want to play that game so bad, and I
Okay.
hope that is good because I was looking forward to Marvel Avengers, and then that was a very big disappointment, huge disappointment actually. But Suicide Squad looks like it has so much potential, and to be honest, Marvel's Avengers never looked like. Basically, it didn't grab my attention from the trailers and everything, as well as Suicide Squad did. Suicide Squad They came out with that teaser a couple of years ago, and I was
Mm.
like, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm fucking with it. I want to see it. I want to play it. And then each trailer they come out with is great. And then when they had that bittersweet news that it's gonna be Kevin Conroy's last performance as Batman, I was like, yo,
Mm.
this game needs to fucking come out already. Hurry up. Don't rush it, but hurry the fuck up.
Mm.
So I'm all for it because, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna buy the game just because of that, but it is a big motivator. Because when I heard about Kevin Conroy's passing, I was
Yeah.
hurt, man. Because
Yeah,
I
the
used to
voice of
watch the
Batman
animated
for
series as a fucking
years,
kid, sitting
bro.
there.
From animation to video games, rest in peace to
Yeah,
Kevin Conroy,
and I
man.
played all the fucking Arkham games, all of them,
Mm.
even the one without Kevin Conroy. I played them.
Oh, that was Arkham Origins.
Arkham Origins, yep. Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, Arkham City. Um, I didn't play the ones that were on the handheld games. I didn't play that. I didn't play the one that was on the Switch. I think it was an exclusive on the Switch. I'm not sure. Those are the only ones I didn't play. Everything else I fucking played. I loved. And when I played for hours. I collected all them fucking Riddler trophies that would take hours and hours and hours to go ahead and find. Okay? I did that. And I
Mm.
did it all with Kevin Conroy's voice in my ear, keeping me motivated.
Mm.
Man.
Man, oh
Ah.
man.
Hurt.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so yeah, Suicide Squad got here. It's due out May 2026. That's not too far from now. It's in a few months.
2026.
2026, 2023. Excuse me. May
Man.
26,
Yo.
2023. May 26, 2023. So yeah, a few months, few months. Um,
You fucking yo, like my
bro, man
heart.
can't read. Man can't read.
Oh man.
May 2023. Flipping, I'll do it again. May 26, 2023 is due out. So yeah, a few months from now, a few months from now.
Oh my
Um,
god.
but yeah, I'd say, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure I'm too bothered about this game, I guess. I mean, it looks okay, but I feel like I'm more of a
Have you
wait and
seen the
see.
trailer?
I think I saw the teaser that it released maybe a couple of years ago or whatever it was. And yeah, it looked fine, I suppose, but
They had
I
some
don't
other
know. Like,
trailers released after
yeah,
that actually showed real gameplay.
okay,
I
I'm
mean,
not
it
sure I
all
saw
depends on
that.
what kind of game you like. For me,
Yeah.
I want more co-op. I'm so tired of PvP. Player versus player. I'm so tired of it. I'm exhausted of it. Because that's all I used to play when I was a kid. I used to play Halo and all that, go against people. I even played Modern Warfare 2 and a bunch of other games, PvP. I'm tired of it. Even Overwatch, like, yeah, I'm playing it, but it's mostly just a motivator just to get back to a rank that I had in the previous one, you know?
Mm,
I want a co-op. We need a good co-op game. And I feel like that's what we're lacking right now. Something where you get you get somebody like a friend or multiple friends and you just team up and you go through an entire game together. And
mm,
I feel like this game can be what Marvel Avengers should have been, and instead it was just a fucking bore fest. Yeah, it was, if you have the right people, you could have some fun out of it, but overall it's a boring fucking game. And I'm hoping that's not the same with this game. The voice acting is funny, the everything about it seems entertaining. It's something that I really want to, experience. So I don't know. Uh, I I'm looking forward to it. And I really hope that it comes out in May. I hope it's not delayed again. And I hope by the time it comes out, I do have it on the next gen console. And I also hope that whatever next gen console I get it on is with people that will actually, you get friends that you play games with, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to buy that. It's like, all right, man, fuck you.
yeah.
So, yeah, man. And plus, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to admit it. I do have a bad. Uh, basically, I wouldn't even say bad choice of games. I would say for me, I tend to pick games that unfortunately my online friends don't really want to play. Like I don't jump on a train that is the majority, not intentionally,
Mm,
but I just happen to jump on a train or go on the path least traveled. For example, Dead by Daylight versus Friday the 13th. I'm all for Friday the 13th. I fucking love that game. Um, I really hate how is it can't be supported anymore for legal reasons, and people don't really support that game anyway. Even before that happened, everybody's on Dead by Daylight's dick,
mm.
and it made me resentful towards that game. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm used to it, so I guess I just gotta get some new friends. I gotta go ahead and get some new friends that are like minded and understand and appreciate good art.
Mm. You know what? That I mean, I feel when it comes to next gen consoles, for me, it's probably. I mean, I don't have any of the PS5s or whatever, but I feel like if I do get one, it's probably is going to be the PS5. But I look at the prices of those things, and it's like they are back in stock at the moment. But I'm like, bro, that's so expensive right now. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. five hundred
just
dollars for a fucking console is
yeah, it's
ridiculous.
like, mate, come on now. But yeah, that whole thing about, I mean, not really something I care too much these days. I mostly play single player games anyway. But back in the day when it was like, you buy a game and then none of your friends get it, and it's like flipping out, you're just on your own. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it could be like that. It could be like that.
and I'm all too used to that.
Mm. All right. What other games is you looking forward to for 2023? Or are there any other games? I should say maybe.
Off the top of my head, no, but I know a game that came out recently on Game Pass. By the way, is this game called Hi-Fi.
Oh yeah, I heard of
Um,
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been hearing
I
some
am
good things
looking
about
forward to
that.
playing that. I downloaded the game on my PC. I was like, no, I'm not gonna wait too long because it sounds perfect for me. It's a action. I mean, whoa! It's an action game that's using rhythm, like music and all that, along with it. I don't know how because I didn't really look at too many trailers because I just want to go in and have my mind blown. But from what I've seen so far, it looks good. It sounds good, and I'm excited for it. Everybody kept comparing it to Sunset Overdrive, which is a very underrated game in my opinion. And yeah, I want to play that game.
Yeah, and I've
That's
heard
what I'm
some.
looking forward to.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it. So I haven't got around to it, but yeah, I don't know anything about it. I just heard people talking about how amazing it is. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
That's on
And that's the
on my
thing.
radar.
I don't want to know any more than I already know. I know that it's an action game. I know that it has rhythm, and I love music games, so it's perfect for me.
Yeah. I guess myself then, in terms of what I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I guess for games that are coming out this year, like I said, I'm probably not gonna play them this year anyway. But I mean, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I think even though I never did complete Breath of the Wild, I still need to do that. Yeah, there's a few games that just bugs me that I just haven't completed, so it's like that. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, it's a new Zelda game. Of course, I'm going to be interested, right? Um, like it's Zelda. It's almost it's about as close to a guarantee that you know it's going to be an amazing game. Um, so yeah, that's why I'm looking for. It's a fact. Is that one out already? Actually, Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think so. Um, I think it's still to come. Uh, but yeah, Dead Space remake. I think that's out already. But that
Yeah,
looks
it
really
is.
cool. Um, that looks amazing. I mean, the first the original Dead Space game was a great. I mean, I played that thing about 3 or 4 years after that got released, maybe even longer. But yeah, that was a great game. I played Dead Space. I really liked that. Dead Space 2, really liked that. Dead Space 3. That was a pretty good game, but it kind of pissed me off towards about the middle of it. Um, but yeah, I've heard amazing things about the remake of Dead Space, and of course the remake of Resident Evil 4 is coming out as well. Though I'll say I'm not as bothered about that one, even though Resident Evil 4, the original, was amazing when that came out. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that one as much. As Dead Space, I feel like I'm a bit more interested in that. Um, but yeah, the loads of games, of course, are coming out this year. Um, we won't talk about them all. We'd be here till like probably end of the year or something. Um, let's move on a little bit then, and start talking about movies and TV shows. Um, so let's go back a year, 2022 again. What was your favorite movies and or TV shows of 2022?
I tell you what, off the top of my head, some shows that stood out was didn't Bel Air come out last year?
Yes,
I'm
I
pretty sure it
believe it
did. I might be
did.
wrong. I know season two is coming out in a couple of weeks, so I want to just give that a little mention. Even though we already went on and on about that show when we reviewed the whole season one, I just want to mention it again because I feel like season two has potential to be
Yeah.
good now that they had their success and maybe they got more money, they'll have more time. So I just want to say that. But off the top of my head, I was really into BMF, Black
Okay.
Mafia
Black Mafia.
Family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was really into that. And I just, for me, the acting is pretty damn good. It don't get me wrong, it's a flawed show, you know, of course, right? Everything is flawed. There's nothing perfect. But I had a lot of fun watching that. It reminded me of The Wire. Uh, well, one of the characters reminded me of a character from The Wire, I should say, not the whole show. Let me fix that very quick because people will jump down my neck. One of the characters, his name is Lamar. Pretty much to sum him up perfectly, is an evil version of Omar Little. So if you already watched The Wire, I know you haven't, but if anybody else watched The Wire, they would know this character, Evil Omar, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Anytime this character comes on, you're like, oh shit, what the fuck this crazy guy gonna do again? He's nuts. If you like
Okay.
any character, they even listen, even in one of the episodes, they made a reference. He made a reference. He straight up said, he's confronting one of the protagonists, and he's like, I'm like Joker and you're like Batman. He said it, he said a whole speech. I'm not gonna do it word for word, but pretty much to sum it up, he's like, I'm like Joker and you're like Batman. And I was like, you know what? The protagonist is definitely not a fucking Batman because he's a piece of shit too.
Mm.
But you know what? You got it right about the Joker part. You are Joker because you're fucking nuts. You're insane. He's fucking crazy. I can't even tell you some of the scenes because it's something that you should experience yourself.
Mm.
Because if I tell you when it happens, you're gonna be like, this is what they were talking. No, enjoy it yourself. Black Mafia Family, definitely worth a watch if you're into those type of things. I haven't watched Power yet or whatever, but it's made by 50 Cent as well, or produced by 50 Cent. So it's gonna be a lot of that kind of aspect. So if you're into Power, you're definitely gonna be into BMF.
Okay. Well, I never did watch Power, and I said never watched The Wire either. But okay. Um, yeah, BMF. I've seen it advertised around, so might actually speaking of Wire. I was watching an interview. It was an interview of a guy who was an undercover cop, and he's a retired undercover cop, and he was just talking about his time on the job and stuff like that. But one of the things
Mhm.
that he said that kind of stood out to me is that he was talking about watching The Wire and talking about how accurately they portrayed sort of being an undercover cop in that show.
Yeah.
So yeah, that did kind of get me to think. You know what? I probably should give The Wire. I know we've said this before, but they kind of get me to. You know what? I probably should give The Wire another chance. I'll probably should give
Yeah.
The Wire another chance.
Yes, because The Wire is definitely my favorite show of all time. If not, then it's a close second, like very close second, like only to a show that's very sentimental to me, which is funny to say it like that because of the show that it is, which is Oz, which is based on characters in prison.
Okay,
But
yeah.
and it's also made by pretty much the same people as well. But yeah, that's the only show that could beat The Wire, in my opinion. Oz.
Yeah, Oz was a good show. I remember that. Um, was there other shows or movies of 2022 that stood out to you?
Off the top of my head, I can't really recall any movies, and I know I'm kicking myself right now. I'm gonna be kicking myself later because it's gonna pop up in my head when it's too late. But um, another show, I, I could tell you what, there are shows that I wanted to watch, like
Yeah.
Sonic Prime. I wanted to watch You. Um, let's see. Let me just go through a list very quick. Oh, Everything and Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
crazy because 2022, it in retrospect, it seems like it was forever, and at the same time, hardly there. Like it went by fast. Everything and Everywhere All at Once is great.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
perfect, and I kind of wish they pulled back on some of the immature jokes. Like I don't know if you've seen that film.
I've seen it. I've
Yeah, the
seen it.
whole butt plug joke, they could have stopped that. You know, the hot dog fingers, they could have stopped that. If they took out those two things, it would be a movie that I definitely would tell everybody, you have to watch this movie. I don't want to tell somebody you have to watch this movie. And then the moment they start shoving things up their ass, they're gonna be looking at me like, what the fuck? I'm like, listen, just give it a bit, give it about 20 minutes. It's gonna get past this part.
um. So yeah, here's okay. Here's the thing. I mean, I get it. I get it. But even including that, I would still consider this a must see film. And I've been recommending this film to just about anybody who listen. I thought this film was brilliant. It was just something a little bit different, something kind of a unique take on something that we've kind of seen before. Um, the whole butt plug thing, yeah, it was a little bit, but I laughed when it was on. The sausage fingers, that it actually made sense. That was just this world where um, they had like hot dog fingers, and then they had like these smaller details where she had the foot thing, rather being on her wrist, was actually on her foot, or maybe it was on both. I don't remember, but she definitely had one on her foot as well, because we'd be playing piano, we're using her feet more, um, and stuff like that. The fact that because she was able to tap into that world, was able to slip through the restraints. So I mean, but I don't want to talk, but I don't want to give too many spoilers. I might have said too much already, but yeah, I just thought the film was brilliant. I liked just look like everything about it. The relationship between the mother and the daughter, um, the relationship between the wife and the husband. It was just everything just kind of felt necessary. It was just, yeah, to me, I felt it was a brilliant film. I thought it was amazing, um and yeah, just definitely for me, top film of the year, maybe top film of the last 10 years, maybe even more. you
Whoa.
know it was, yeah, I thought it was
Mm.
excellent. So yeah, that for me is easily, well, maybe not say easily, there's definitely some great films that came out last year, but for me, definitely, yeah, one of the best ones I've seen in a good while, and just a just really brilliant viewing experience. So yeah, everything, everywhere, all at once. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about that movie. It's yeah, must see movie. Must see movie.
Yeah, I would say is a really good movie, but I definitely wouldn't give it that much of a high praise. I like for me, I like the concept more than anything. The concept itself is what blew my mind a little bit, in the artistic things that they did. Like, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, it's pretty much just how can I say without spoiling? It's a movie that deals with the multiverse,
Yeah.
and you have this character that's able to travel through all these multiverses, and they're trying to stop her. Okay, let's just put it as that. And the reason why I want to bring that up is because there's this artistic thing they did in the movie that was brilliant, in my opinion, where when she's switching between the multiverses,
Hmm.
the camera kind of tilts almost
Right.
like a clock, like you're you're switching the hands of time, and are turning the hands of time. And I fucking love that. Like, it was just cutting in between, the antagonist, when she would go ahead and switch in between multiverses. They did a lot of things that was very like, oh man, I fucking love the sets, the designs, the art direction, and everything is brilliant. The cinematography is amazing, but the immature parts is a little too immature for me. And I feel like it takes away from the overall story, even though the movie is long as fuck. It's almost like 3 hours, if not more. It's a very long movie.
It
So
is 2 hours 20 minutes.
yeah, it felt even longer than that. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It felt longer than that to me, but it wasn't a chore to get through the movie. It's not one of those things. It was a really good film. It's just the immature shit. I feel like it just takes away, because at the end of the day, you know, you have this film and you could talk so much about all the good things they had in it and the meaningful messages, but when it came to the goofy parts, it was a little too goofy, way too goofy. You had these moments where it could probably make somebody cry with how good the writing is, the message behind it, and the symbolism, of course. This character, the protagonist, having to accept the antagonist for the relationship that they have, and all the struggles between them, and the personal struggles of the characters. How the protagonist is a flawed character, and those around her, how they react to her. Same with the antagonist. The antagonist is not perfect, and she has to accept flaws that she has. And it's just a very strong, heartfelt story that you have here. And then you have that one jackass in the writing room that's like, yeah, but what if they put something up their ass? And it's
Yeah.
like, what? If I was in that writing room, I would not have let that pass as long as I'm in there. They would have had to fire me because I would have
Yeah.
cursed that person out. I would have fought them, whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
letting that happen.
I mean, for me, it was just more like because the whole again we're trying not to give away spoilers, but it was the whole idea of having to try and you have to do something weird, and the weirder you are, the more you can jump, and because they're trying to jump to these kind of far places, they have to do something real weird. So for me, that humor kind of fit in with it. Um, and it's not like they went super explicit either. So for me, it was like it was funny. It was a little bit of a oh kind of moment, but yeah, I felt like the humor fits, and yeah, okay, well, okay, clearly you felt different. Clearly you felt different. I felt the humor fit, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's uh, I think everybody in that movie and how it was portrayed was just spot on. Michelle Yeoh, it kind of feels like this. I mean, I don't know if it was specifically written for her. I haven't read into it that much, but it definitely feels like a role that was made for her, considering her career, and her everything she's done from Hong Kong movies to Hollywood movies, you know having that background and then doing a film like this, there's such a varied, such a variation you could pull from. So it does kind of feel like the fact that you have somebody who's done all that stuff in movies, had all that experience from martial arts to drama to all these different things, and then to play
Mhm.
this character who's effectively a regular person, doing a regular job, living a regular life, and not everything's going so well for them, but they're trying to keep everything together, and then the multiverse of all these other things. It just kind of felt like that's her. You know what I mean? Like that is her. So yeah, I I oof, great movie. Um, what was we talking about? Yeah, 2022. I kind of forgot what we were talking about for a sec. 2022. What? Okay, let me see. What things of 2022 did I like? Clearly, I really liked everything everywhere. But what else was there about 2022 that I liked? Let me just consult my list for a second. I'm sure I'm forgetting things. I mean, there was loads of
I
movies that
definitely
came
forgot
out
about some stuff. Like just off
last
the
year.
top of my head, I remembered. Let's see, Batman.
Yeah, the Batman. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah,
Um,
very good
Doctor
movie.
Strange. I mean, yeah, between
I was
Doctor Strange
disappointed
and
with
the
Doctor
Batman.
Strange. I'm not gonna lie, but
Really,
to be fair, it was because it part of it had to do with expectations from the previous. What is it the Spider-Man movie that came out late 2021? Yeah, late
hmm
2021, the Spider-Man movie, and what else? The theater. My whole theater experience was trash that movie. So, but overall, yeah, I feel like the Doctor Strange movie could have been better, man. Overall,
yeah. What I liked about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, to give it its full title, um, I liked that it kind of got straight to the point. Like it starts off and gets straight to the point. It really just like hits the ground running. I would say the one maybe thing about it, and this is doesn't affect me so much, but I can imagine it might affect some other people who are a little bit more casual with the whole kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that it very much does rely, well, not quite rely, but it does heavily lean towards the idea of you've already seen certain things. You've already seen One Division. Specifically, it does
hmm
kind of. I don't want to say it quite fully relies on it. I think you can understand this movie if you haven't seen it, but you certainly will miss a lot of context if you haven't. So it does kind of lean that way. And I think for people who haven't seen it, yeah, you pretty much get what's going on, but it's not going to catch you up either. You know what I mean? It just kind of hits the ground running. It assumes you've kind of seen this already, and then goes from there. So for me, that's fine because I have seen it. I'm pretty heavily invested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm watching a lot of this stuff anyway. So for me, it's not a problem at all. But yeah, I
hmm
can imagine that's kind of an issue for people who are a bit more casual and maybe don't necessarily watch all the stuff coming out. But yeah, I liked that it kind of just started, got straight to the action. It was a good story. It had its sad moments. It had its more heartfelt moments. And it just kind of, for me, it just kind of felt like an overall well-made film. Had its humor in there as well, and in my opinion, definitely amongst the better Marvel movies out there because they can feel quite formulaic at times, and this one does it do something a little bit different from that.
I
Uh,
mean, for me, I gotta, I don't know. I just a lot of people that criticize the movie, the responses to them are, "Oh, you just wanted more cameos. You just wanted more cameos." It's not so much as that. It's just in the literal title, it says the madness of the multiverse.
no,
So,
Multiverse of Madness.
multiverse of madness. So
Yeah,
it's like you. are setting a stand like an expectation just from the title itself that we're going to see the multiverse for all these multiverses or whatever is going to be insane. It's going to be madness. But instead, it's like we saw potential teases of it, and then we saw just about like 2 3 universes. That was it, and we didn't even really get to explore those universes too much. They had Marvel What If, prior to that,
Yeah, yeah.
so that already set the expectations. In fact, they had characters from the What If series in this movie, right? It may not have been specifically those, but at least those versions of those characters. Like one of them in particular, um, one of the captains. We'll just say that. Now,
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
also
yeah, yeah,
had,
yeah.
yeah, you also had the Spider-Man movie. When they did that, that was amazing. Even though we could have explored more of the multiverse, and that movie wasn't perfect either, I was expecting so much more from this Doctor Strange film. And when we got to it, I was just like, come on, man. And then once we were really digging into one universe, we were out of it before we knew it. And we're like, yo, at least me, I was like, come on, man. What are you doing here? It's like you're giving little fucking teases and that's it. It's like going I'm sorry for this comparison, but it's like going to one of those strip clubs where they're not allowed to pull out the tits. Like they got to cover up their nipples and all that. And it's like, why did you even bring me here? Well, why did you bring me here? It's cold.
So
It
you say
stinks.
it's just a tease. It's just
Yeah, it's a huge tease. Even the
um
fucking cliffhanger at the end, it's like, what was that? And then the post credit scene. I know a lot more people liked it and appreciate it, but I never watched. Uh, fuck, I never watched the movie that person was in. If you know what I'm talking about,
I'm
and it was a
kind of going
joke.
process of seeing right now. What happened? What's
It,
the
it was
post
a,
credit scene again?
basically is a. I don't want to say any part, but basically is a joke post credit scene, and it's from one of the cameos earlier in that movie.
Oh
That's
yeah,
all I
yeah, yeah,
can
yeah, yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah. And when that happened, I was like, yo, I actually sat here through the whole fucking credits, and that's what you gave me. You think it's funny. It's not funny. It's cold. This popcorn is stale. Like, I'm tired. I got work tomorrow. I fucking used my day off to come and see this movie, and I'm running out of time, okay, before I have to get ready for work the next day. And this is how you want to waste my time for a little joke, and you thought I was gonna enjoy it. Nah, fuck you and fuck him.
Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, for me, I would say that generally go into movies. I try not to have any expectations, just because you almost certainly end up disappointing yourself. Like it sounds like you did, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I mean, I kind of I felt what they did was satisfactory. Like I mean, you referred to it as a tease. I don't know if I can agree with that. I mean, I did feel like they had their own story to tell. Um, it had to, of course, fit into the whole cinematic universe. But then it had its own resolve as well. It didn't just like leave everything up in the air. And I think as far as the joke at the end goes, I mean, okay, yeah, typically they'll do like some kind of future tease for a Marvel movie. This time around, they went with sort of a self-referencing joke. That's fine. I mean, I guess it is what it is, right? You know, it's at least you know he's okay in the end. You know what I mean? Like, in
Man,
case we're wondering. But yeah, no, I felt like the movie was fine. You know, it told its own story. It had its own development, and it had its own resolve at the end. Um, in along the way, you had some good action sequence. There's some interesting worlds that they went to. Granted, yeah, you're right. They didn't necessarily explore every world they went to. Um, which I guess is fine. I mean, I guess you can't. I mean, you can, but then how much does that take away from the story you're trying to tell? You know, so I feel like for what they did, it worked. Um, so yeah, I was okay with it. Clearly, you wasn't, but I was okay with it.
Definitely not. I really feel like they didn't have to go to too many universes. I'm just saying that the ones that we went to, we should really take in the differences, like really soak it in. But instead, the longest universe that they stayed in, they were stuck inside a building that we never been in before, and there were so many questions to be answered, and it wasn't. And I just feel like I really wanted to see more of that. Like they showed us like the results of everything that transpired rather than show us moments from that. They could have showed us moments of, like for example, one of the big differences, or rather how they dealt with their own problem. You get what I mean?
Hmm.
A certain person they dealt with versus how our universe dealt with them. I want to see that. I don't want to see the results after it's all said and done, and you're sitting there with the results like the end of it. It's like walking in on a movie that's just about to end.
Hmm.
I don't want to see that. I want to see what show me the climax at least. That's all. I just wanted to see more. I felt like they could have shown more, and they could have showed less of all the other jokes and bullshit that they did bother to show.
Would you
It's not a
prefer
bad movie, but I give it
if
like a
the
7 out of 10.
post credit scene, if they edit it with like Doctor Strange like jumping on a butt plug? Would that have been better for you?
Man, I would just be like, go ahead. You may as well, because I feel fucked in the ass too.
All right, so I do want to move on to what we're looking forward to in the future. Before I do though, because like I said, there's loads of stuff that came out, loads of movies that I watched last year. Certainly way more movies than I played video games anyway. I also just
Mm,
want to quickly mention a few of some of my favorite movies from last year that I noted down. I won't go into talk about all of them, but just to mention some of the stuff that I enjoyed last year. So for me, let's say I wrote Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Batman, Doctor Strange, Wakanda Forever. I thought was really good as well. It had its issues, but overall I thought it was pretty good. Terrifier 2, which was I believe an independent film. It's a horror movie. I don't know how much you know about Terrifier,
I
but
know
yeah,
enough. I'm
it's
surprised that you like that.
yeah, I liked it. I liked it. Terrifier 2, I mean, Terrifier, the first Terrifier movie came out, I can't remember, a few years back. And, I watched I've watched that recently. Um, and yeah, that was just one of the most gruesome films I've seen.
Yeah, that's
Before
why I'm
that,
surprised that you liked it.
oh, I mean, I like horror movies. I haven't seen all, there's a lot of horror movies that I've missed, but yeah, no, I do like a good horror movie. I definitely do like a good gory movie as well when I can find one. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, I did watch All Hallows Eve as well, which is the first appearance of Art the Clown. That was okay. That was pretty cool. It was a bit of a slower movie. So by the time I watched Terrifier, that was just kind of took the pace a little bit different. I was like, okay, okay. And then yeah, Terrifier 2 just came out last year, which I thought was pretty good as well. Um, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, that kind of took me by surprise. I only watched it because Janelle Monáe was in it, and I watched the first movie, which I never seen before. Literally only watched it because Janelle Monáe was in it, and so I watched them both. Thought they were really good. Um, the Adam Project, another great film as well. The Gray Man, Lightyear, the Buzz Lightyear movie. I thought I liked that. And then Scream 5, which I thought was really cool as well. That's what they did with that. So yeah, those are some of my favorite movies that I noted of 2022. But yeah, plenty of movies that I enjoyed. I'm sure there's loads that I forgot to list on that, but yeah, that's all I'd mention for now. Um, but yeah, going into 2023, so we're in February right now, so a few movies are coming out already, a few movies and TV shows still to come. Um, what are you most looking forward to for? I mean, I think you mentioned Bel Air already, but what are you most looking forward to for 2023 for movies and TV shows?
You know, not many, to be honest, that I've been excited for. Um, because last year I do feel like I was slacking when it came to watching films. Like I wanted to watch Megan, for example, that came out earlier this year. I really wanted to see Megan. I wanted to see it in the damn theater. I wanted to see Woman King. I wanted to
Oh yeah, yeah,
see Puss in Boots. There's so many movies that I wanted to watch, and I just didn't have the time to go to the theater and watch them, or even sit down. Some of them came out on streaming. I didn't get to sit down and watch them. Um, Wakanda Forever, I was disappointed with. I think we spoke about that.
yeah,
Um, yeah,
yeah. We spoke
I was
about one in
disappointed with
length.
that movie. So, yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I think the boys is supposed to have a new season out this year. I'm
Okay.
excited for that. I know for sure if not the boys season 4, they're gonna have like the spinoff or whatever. I'm excited for that. Like, I love the boys. That show is fucking dope. I love it. 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 I love it.
Yeah, I
So
still need to get around to watching that. I still need to get around to watching that, and
I
yeah, I
mean,
think
now
when
that
we
you
do, we'll have
told
to talk
me
about
that
it.
you're into gory shit, there should be no reason why you don't watch The Boys. There should be
Okay.
no reason. This
Okay.
whole
All right. All
time, I'm
right.
thinking, oh, Bandit's not into that type of shit. Let me not go ahead and recommend this. Let me not recommend that. You telling me you watching some shit like the Terrifier 2, where even me, I'd be like, hell no, I'm not watching that. So you're like, no, I like that gory shit.
Yeah, I like a little gore. I like a little gore. I
um,
like a little bit of gore.
Man, ain't a little gore. I watched somebody review that movie, and I saw some of the scenes and I'm like, the fuck? Nah, no. And you told me, oh yeah, that's one of my favorite movies from last year. I'm like, no. Now I know the type of shit you into. You better not come back to me by the end of this year saying, "Oh, I didn't watch The Boys yet."
All right, cool, cool, fair enough. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I think I've been saying I want to watch it since like probably last year, maybe even before that. So yeah, maybe it's about time I get around to it. At least what was I think maybe what by the time I get through Buffy and Angel, I'm almost done with that. So yeah, maybe by the time I get through that, we'll start on the boys. So that
Yeah.
sounded way. I did not.
No.
That sounded. That did not come out the way. Yeah, yeah. We'll just move on, casually. um. Okay. Cool. 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 So the boys. Yeah. There's a few. Let me see what I wrote for shows actually. Where did I put my notes gone? So for releasing, yeah, for 2023. I mean, yeah, The Last of Us out already. It's not finished yet, but I've not started on it. I believe it's 8 episodes. I think they're on episode 4 or 5 at the moment. So maybe a few more episodes to go, a few more weeks to go before it ends. I'm waiting till the whole thing is done so I can just pay once and binge watch it. Um, but I've hearing nothing but good things about that show. So, and I'm a big fan of the games as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting around to that. Hopefully, in the coming weeks or so.
Mhm.
Um, Cobra Kai season 6, I think, is out this year, and I believe that's going to be the final season. Also, Stranger Things season 5, I think that's out this year, and I think that's going to be the final season as well.
Yeah, I'm waiting until that whole show is done before I even watch it.
Stranger Things.
Yep, I
Well,
never
okay.
watched it. I
Stranger
only saw
Things
one
is
scene from
excellent.
it, and that was literally it. It was the
Yeah.
scene where uh I guess a kid is in a basement or
Well, that's
that
probably a
house
lot
or
of it actually.
something, and then like
that's,
cop.
that's that's
I don't
that's most episodes, I think. So
know,
somebody's in a
I don't know
basement
if the
somewhere.
cop is like their parent or something, but the guy
Oh
starts
right, yeah, yeah, yeah,
dancing.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I know
that's
what
the
you're
only
talking about.
scene that I know, and that's because of memes.
All right. Well, as much as you're saying I should watch The Boys, I'm saying you need to watch Stranger Things.
Oh
It's
yeah, definitely.
superb.
I'm just waiting
It
till
is
it,
superb.
it finishes because I don't want to wait like everybody else. I hate that. I hate catching up on shows, and now I'm stuck in the boat of waiting for the next season like
Mm.
everyone else. That's what happened with Breaking Bad for me.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Oh, Better Call Saul. I forgot about that. Actually, that's another
Yeah,
good
I do plan on watching
show
that
from
too.
last year
I,
as
I
well.
watched the first couple of seasons, I think, and it just got to a point where I was just like kind of bored. Never with Saul Goodman, but with the characters surrounding him and some of the, the plot lines. I was like, uh, let's get through this. It's almost like watching season two of The Wire over and over for me.
Mm,
And I know you don't get that part, but pretty much the gist of it is season two of The Wire is so dreadfully slow in the beginning, like for the first half, because it's supposed to make you feel that way. It's supposed to let you feel immersed with the characters that what they're going through compared to the previous season. And it's a really, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, ah, man, that was fucking genius. Now that I think about it, but in the heat of the moment, you're like, holy fuck, let's go.
yeah. Okay. By the way, just kind of realized something. Just mention this real quick as well. For like we talk about a few movies, but for TV shows of 2022, a few of my favorites. Wednesday, which was I thought was really good. The Adams Family spinoff. Bel Air, Moon Knight, Obi-Wan, Dharma, which I know that had its controversy, but I thought they did a good job with that show. Um, Peacemaker and Halo. Those are some of my favorite shows of
Yeah, I
2022.
like most of those. I didn't watch Dahmer because, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to really be into serial killers. I used to
Okay.
love serial
I'm sure
killers.
you want to admit that
Well,
recorded.
I used to love watching the documentaries, reading about them, and all that, and just because for me it was fascinating, like how somebody like me, if I see a dead body, I cringe and I just want to look away. So to imagine that somebody actually existed that were
Mm.
they actively enjoyed killing people, it was is mind boggling to me. So it was almost for me, it was almost like a real life horror story, and
Oh
I was
yeah.
really into it. But now that I'm older and I'm more mature, I understand the weight of that. Like these are real people that
Yeah.
were killed and tortured and all that. And for me, I'm definitely on the side of like I can understand why people reacted the way they did for Dahmer because I've witnessed it. Whereas like I was at my job and I'm hearing people talk about Dahmer and they're laughing about it and talking about it like it was a regular ass fucking show. And I'm like,
Mm.
I've when I was a kid, I watched the documentaries that they had out for Jeffrey Dahmer, and they showed the real photos of his victims. And this is nothing to just be like, oh yeah, this show is crazy. Can you believe this? And talking about it like it's a regular ass Netflix show. Like these people literally got gutted and ate
Yeah.
and tortured. And it's so
Yeah.
disgusting. It's to the point where I pretty much traumatized myself by even watching that shit when I was a kid, and I wish I didn't because I could still vividly picture those images. Like it's very extreme. Like I do not like do not out of any morbid curiosity for anybody listening, do not ever look at them. Because it's not one of those things where it's like, I'm telling you don't do it, and then you do it, and you're like, oh man, like no, don't fucking do it.
Mm.
So that's why I when this whole Netflix series came out about it, I saw it for what it was. It's just a cash grab. The show may be good, but it's based off something that actually fucking happened. And they're, making money off of it. It's not to educate because there's many ways that you can educate people without going into this whole, the way they did it.
Mm.
And there's plenty of sources out there that you could go ahead, watch a documentary on it, watch a coverage on it, or even read about it. There's so many ways that you could do it. But instead, they chose to do this and they know what they're doing because they're already talking about making more series. Like they're going to do
Yeah.
Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy Jr., um, the Richard Ramirez, so on and so forth, you know?
Yeah.
And
No. No. For
I
sure.
just, yeah, I just, I can't support that. I know this is, it may, for people that know me personally, it comes off kind of shocking because I'm usually the type of person like, fuck it. But nah, I understand this part because if that were to, God forbid, if I was in those people's shoes and somebody, like, say, somebody I loved or cared for, whatever, was brutally murdered that way, and then they're making some fucking show about it, I'm going to be hurt because now I'm reliving that shit. I'm gonna be more than hurt. I'm gonna be pissed off. In fact, just thinking about it, I could easily imagine it, and it made my heart start racing a little bit. Like it would definitely, like words can't even describe truly how you would really feel in that position. And I get it. Some people, when you can't really comprehend it, you're like, yo, you're making a big deal out of this. Out of this, this is it's a fucking show. And I'm telling you, I've been in those shoes way too many times where I'm like, you're making a big deal out of it. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. It's not one of those situations, man. They're making money off of this shit. They're putting the families of these victims through bullshit where they gotta live through it again. People are reaching out to them because everybody's trying to eat off of this. Anytime when something like this comes up, everybody reaches out. They want to do their own interviews. They want to go ahead, dress up as Jeffrey Dahmer,
Hmm.
do all this stupid shit. And this is not too long ago. This happened in late 80s, early 90s. So it's not long ago. So you can't even be like, oh, most of those people are gone and they moved. Nah, you don't get over shit like this. So yeah, it's really fucked up. I hate it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I'll say that Netflix kind of dropped the ball on is that they didn't apparently contact the families of the victims to either let them know that we're doing it or anything like that. I think that's something that they definitely should have done. I mean, as far as these types of shows go, though, I mean, my thing is that yeah, of course they're making money of it. I mean, that's a given. They're making money off pretty much everything they do, right? That's just the way capitalism kind of works. It's a show that's going to be on a platform that people subscribe to, and if it's a popular show and people like it, more people subscribe, and so on and so forth. So yeah, there's money to be made. And I don't think we could deny that aspects of it. And again, that's another reason why it's a shame that they didn't contact the families. I don't know if the families want money, if they should get, I don't know, that's up to them to decide, but they should at least contact them. So yeah, absolutely, that should have been done. But as far as these types of shows go, the existence of these types of shows, whether it's a documentary or a dramatization, I mean, ultimately, I feel like they're kind of things that I don't know if they need to be done, but they do still serve a purpose in terms of watching a show like this and seeing a character, whether it's the serial killers or whether it's the victims of serial killers. There's a relation in there in terms of what is it that happens, how we treat people, what are the failings of a system, like whether it's the police or society or people, things like that. So there's things to be learnt from a show like this. And yeah, I know the whole TikTok thing. That's people are nuts. People are nuts. But I feel like there's things to be learned from these things. I mean, and I know when it's more of a dramatization, there's things that can be changed that didn't actually happen or didn't actually happen in the way they're portraying it. But even still, for the most part, they're sticking to various truths. So there's things to be learned, things to be understood, and not to be give the impression that you can watch a show like this and now you can go out and you can spot who the serial killers are. No, of course not. That's goes into all kinds of psychology that most of us are not qualified for. But even still, like learning about when we think about how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, a character like Dharma, who at least from this dramatization seems like to me somebody who is clearly very deeply disturbed, homosexual at a time when homosexuality, and in particular, I think his family or his surroundings at the time, very much frowned upon, right? Um, how does that look in a modern day world? You know what I mean? Because these days we tend to say, things are more, say, accepted and more, say, tolerated. But how does that look
Mhm.
in a modern day world where we tolerate some things, but maybe we don't tolerate other things? What are we doing to people? And that whole thing about be kind because you never know what people are going through. What changes where you take somebody who's already going through all kinds of issues that you can't do anything about, but the acceptance of a person and being maybe kinder, how does that affect that person go forward? I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to solve all the issues of serial killers. It probably won't. But ultimately, it's things that we can take from a show like this in terms of what do I do? How do I treat people? How do I treat myself? And how do I express myself? And how do I look at the things in me and be more open about that in hopes that I don't become a serial killer? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I do think these types of shows do still hold. And I know there was this whole thing about trauma porn and stuff like that. And yeah, there are people like that. I'm not going to deny that. But I do still feel like shows like these, whether it's a dramatization or whether it's a documentary, they do still hold a value, educationally, socially, whether deliberate, or inadvertent. I think it is still there.
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah. Um, but yeah, and I just felt like as a show, yeah, I felt from acting, from way it tells the story, um, it was just a really kind of well done show. But yeah, definitely a shame that they didn't contact the families, and hopefully, if they are going to make more of these, and that's something that they do going forward, because you're right, it is kind of messed up where you kind of turn on Netflix one day, see what your recommendations are, and your whole family traumatic experience is right in front of you. That's it's not cool. To learn about it just like that. And yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay.
Yeah. And it's not like you could just avoid it because it's being talked about, it's being promoted,
Mm,
all of that. It's all over.
yeah. Um. All right. So let's get back to 2023 now. Kind of took a step back for a moment, but let's get back to 2023. So things that come out in 2023, movies and TV shows. Um, what else was you looking forward to for movies and TV shows? What's on your radar?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, like, I haven't heard too many shows that I'm looking forward to because I kind of been out of the loop when it came to that. But I know Invincible season 2 is coming out. I'm looking forward to that.
All right, yeah.
I do hope that people would relax with some of because I get it. It's a comic book or whatever. Or it's based on the comic book. So I get it. There's a lot that you guys want to talk about, but chill, chill. Some of us didn't even know it was a fucking comic book until it came out. You know,
Mm,
um, I'm not gonna read the comic before I watch the show because I'm not in a rush to see the next season. It's not one of those things where it's like I can't wait to see what's next. It's one of those things where I really enjoyed this show. I'm looking forward to the next season. And that's that. Let me enjoy it. Let people enjoy it. Don't be that person like, oh man, wait till we get to this part. Oh boy.
yeah,
Don't do that. Don't do that. Let people
yeah,
enjoy the experience for the first time themselves, and just get their reactions if you're excited about it. That's it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that next season. I do hope that the animation is a little bit better. The animation wasn't bad from the previous season. It's just you could tell the budget was limited. But now that they had such a good success with this previous season, I feel like it's gonna be better than it was before. And I hope that they would someday release based on the success of the series as a whole. I will hope that season one is redone, remastered one day. Because there's this one scene from that season that is infamous and it could have been done so much better in my opinion, way more fucked up. And I just feel like, it's just budget reasons why it didn't come out as good as it could have.
I
But
think I know
still,
the
people
scene.
had their
So is
minds
that
blown.
the father son scene towards the end?
Nah, nah, that one was done good. But I'm talking
Okay.
about the train.
Okay. I might have forgotten about the train. I might at least watch that again,
Nah,
to be
you didn't
honest.
forget about the train. It's just buried in your mind right now. The train, father son train.
Oh, train as in train in.
No, the train, like subway train. Father son train. You watched the whole season, right?
Yeah. I watched it, I
You
guess,
don't
when it
remember
came
that
out.
scene with the train, the father with his son, and then the train?
I don't think so.
Wow, you're gonna kick yourself when you remember.
I don't think. I mean,
Oh
I would have seen
man.
it, but I'm not sure I'm recalling it.
You know what? You know what? I'm gonna say it. Let's just put. I'm gonna say a disclaimer, guys. Just stop listening for 10 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled about this one scene.
Okay.
10 seconds, literally 10 seconds. You can count 10 starting now. Okay. When he grabbed his son and then he put him in front of the train and had him go through the whole train. You don't remember that scene? And the
Oh
train,
wait.
because they're superheroes, they were just going through it. So they're going through bodies and everything, ripping through the whole train.
Okay. No, I think I remember. Yeah. I think I remember it. I think I remember. I'm just looking at
Yeah.
some images right now, actually. But yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now that if it was if it was done, you know, with a higher budget, that would have stayed in your mind permanently. But because of how it was done right there, it's kind of like, it just didn't hit as hard as it should have. Because it wasn't like a throwaway scene. It was something that was supposed to be taken very seriously. Like, it's like one of those moments, like those oh shit moments.
Mm.
But because of the animation limitations, um, it didn't come off that way too well, in my opinion. I mean, I think my opinion is supported because look how you had to get reminded. Even then, you're like, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think I'll probably have to watch that whole thing again before the next season comes out if I could get time to. But I mean, I
yeah.
feel like I
I mean, you could,
remember
you know
what you're
what you could
talking about.
do? You could watch highlights because it's
Yeah,
not
I could
like you
probably
have
do
to
that actually.
remember every single
Yeah,
detail.
yeah, I could probably just do that. Yeah, just a good idea. Just watch
Yeah,
the highlights. Just find like a you know recap or something and do that.
yeah.
Um, all right, so there's quite a few films that I'm looking forward to that are coming out this year. Some might be out already, actually, I think. And certainly one I know is out very soon, which is Ant-Man Quantumania. And hopefully I'll be seeing that real soon as
Oh,
well.
I forgot.
Um,
Yes, I want to see that so
that
bad.
yeah, that's out. Well, in the UK, it's out on the 17th of February. Um, which who knows, maybe this podcast will actually be live by the time that's out. But yeah, but hopefully I'll be seeing that shortly after that's released. But let me run through a list of movies that I wrote down, or movies and TV shows that I wrote down that are coming out this year that kind of stood out to me for various reasons. Not every one of them I'll say I'm looking forward to. Some of them just kind of stood out for me as and we'll see if you can spot which ones are more of a that I'm actually looking forward to seeing. But let me just run through the list of these are movies and TV shows. So movies first. You People, which actually I've already seen that was a pretty good. So You People, Knock at the Cabin, Pathaan, Ant Man, Quantumania, Super Mario Brothers movie, Scream 6, Creed 3, John Wick 4, The Little Mermaid, Expendables 4, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, House
Expendables
Party
4.
remake.
Oh,
Yeah.
my bad. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about The Incredibles.
Oh right, no, yeah. They still got to get you part three for that. But yeah, Expendables 4, Guardians of the Galaxy, House Party remake, Dune Part 2. That's for movies. TV shows, yeah, so Last of Us, Velma, Cobra Kai Season 6, Wolfpack, The Mandalorian, Season 3, Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, and then X-Men 97. So yeah, some of those I'll say I'm not necessarily looking forward to. Some of those are just kind of set to me as a okay, interesting. But yeah, those are the ones that I noted down. Which of those stands out to you?
I was excited for Velma. when it was first announced. I thought, man, this could be really fucking funny. And unfortunately, when they actually came out with, I like they said, oh, Shaggy is not Shaggy, Shaggy is Norman or whatever. I was like, I'm no, not Norman,
Norville.
Norville. I
Yeah,
was like, in the original, I wasn't a big Scooby Doo fan, but even I knew that wasn't his real name or whatever. I knew Norville was his real name. I forgot when I found that out. I think it was in some fucking random ass fact video because I'm always watching YouTube.
yeah,
So I was like, that's whatever. But then when they kept coming out with more and more about it, like some of the jokes and the ideas, I was like, this ain't looking good. I saw the animation style. I was like, oh man, that looks good. I saw the first teaser. I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
yeah.
And then they just kept doing more and more, and I was like, oh no. It's
Did you
like
watch Velma,
everyone
by the way?
said. No,
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't. I really don't want to.
So yeah,
Like
I
that's how
haven't.
bad it is. Like
Yeah,
from what I've seen, it's so bad. I not even out of curiosity do I want to watch it.
yeah. So I haven't watched Velma. Um, the reason I noted this one down is because some of the responses it seems to be getting, because the general idea, as I've understood it, is that it's kind of a prequel of sorts, but it's more of an adult humor take on Scooby Doo, but focusing on Velma. So that, as an idea, sounds fine to me. Taking something that already exists, making a more adult version of it. Cool. That's it's not the first time that sort of thing has happened. So why not, right? And then focus on one particular character and have that as a kind of an unofficial prequel to the whole thing, and change the characters, if or whatever. Cool, but it just seems like, so yeah, that sounded fine to me. But it just seems like, as the show was released and people were watching it, you know, nothing good was said about that show. Like literally nothing good was said
Yeah,
about that show. And I'm one of these people who kind of, well, I like to be one of these people who, we hear something like that. Part of me is like, well, maybe it's not that bad. Me, it's the internet, right? People like to exaggerate things. People like to jump on bandwagons. Maybe it's not that bad, but mate, nothing good has been said about the show. And there's a point
yeah.
where you're like, but I think this might actually just be terrible. I think this might actually be absolutely abysmal. But I've not watched it, so let me be clear on that. So I don't have an opinion. It was just more of like, that's how bad. Like nothing good was said about the show. You know what I mean? Nothing. So it's
At
like,
the very
as you
least, the
know, that's
animation looked good.
yeah, that's true. Actually did hear one good thing about it, which apparently it had like the most amount of views for a HBO show or something along those lines. Most about animated views. Can't remember exactly what it was, but it
I
broke
mean,
some kind of record. But yeah, I
no,
think that
but
might have
that's
been a
mainly
lot of
because people
hate
just
watching.
they always talk about that they hate shows and everything, but they have to see it themselves. They have to
Yeah,
see
I
how
think that
bad it
might have been
is.
that.
That's why.
I think that might have
So
been that.
yeah,
So I don't
they're
know.
gonna
Maybe
come out with a next season, and that shit will flop.
yeah, maybe I'll check it out at some point just to see it for myself. But I certainly won't be rushing to see that. Um, the thing that I would say that was more the for me that I read out though was House Party, because I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you have seen the original House Party, um,
Yeah,
because yeah, right, um, and House Party was from 1990. No, 1989 or 1990? 1990, I think it was. One of the best movies ever, in my opinion. It is brilliant. It's funny. It's just on point. It's brilliant. And certainly at the time it came out, it was doing so much. Um, and House Party 2, I thought was pretty good. House Party 3 was not so good in my opinion. House Party 4 I never watched, so I have no opinion on that. But then I see, as I was researching for this podcast, that they're actually making a House Party remake. And I was like, because on one hand, I don't think it's a bad idea to remake it, but at the same time, do you want to remake House Party? You know what I mean? Like, and it seems like it's not even the same story from what I've read when I read like the blurb thing. It seems like they're going for a pretty different story. So, how much of this is a remake versus a complete reworking versus just using a house party name to tack onto something because there's a party in it? I don't know. I don't know. But what do you think of the idea of House Party being remade in 2023?
I feel like it's a shame because on one hand, you want these people to make money, you want them to be successful, but a lot of times, people just have to rehash old ideas. They don't really get the opportunity to move on and do something different, do something that's worth the risk. Um, and it's like movies are becoming, they say that nothing really is original anymore, right? Everything is always borrowed from something else. But it's like the more movies that come out are typically just rehashes of old movies, classics, especially because they're banking on nostalgia more than anything, the success of other movies beforehand. I'm pretty sure sooner or later, give it about 5, 10 years from now, at least, we're going to get a remake of something like Friday, which you're like, why would you ever touch that? It's going to happen and it's going to be bad. Just like like it reminded me of when I heard that they were remaking How High. And How High wasn't like a classic, but it was nostalgic nonetheless.
Yeah, I remember How High. Yeah,
So
Dre and Redman.
no, Method Man, Redman. I
Sorry, I
think you
said
thinking
Dre.
about
My bad. Yeah,
car. Yeah,
sorry. No, yeah. My bad. My bad. Meth and Red. Sorry. Yeah, I think my bad. Yeah, Meth and Red. Yeah, but yeah, no, I've seen that. I've seen that movie. But yeah, I think I was just confused with. No, my bad. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I've seen it.
yeah. So
Um,
I feel like remakes should only be for something where you can improve on it or do something way different. Not too different where it's like, why did you even do this? You should have just made your own movie. But something where it's like a whole original take on it or to improve on it.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, for certainly, I feel like that's kind of how I feel about when it comes to remakes and reboots and that kind of thing. Which is, as you said, it's not necessarily always what happens, right? Um, I mean, with this one, hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's a funny film. It could very well be. I guess we have to wait and see. It's got a lot of people in it. I'm just looking at the cast now, and Kid and Play seems to be in it in some capacity. I imagine they probably got maybe a smaller kind of cameo type role. That'd be my guess. I don't know for sure, but they are in the movie at least. Whether that means it's going to be good or not, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it was definitely caught my attention as interesting choice of films to remake. But hey, why not? I guess. I mean, if they feel they can make something good, go for it, and hopefully it is good. We just have to wait and see. Um, but I tell you what, I am looking forward to for 2023. Probably my most uh, what words is. Let me just say it. John Wick 4. John Wick 4.
Okay.
John Wick 1 and 2 and 3, excellent. John Wick 4, apparently it's going to have a lot more action according to, I think, Keanu Reeves said some interview sometime. But even still, I'm looking forward to that a lot. So I'm not sure when it's out. I have to probably double check at some point. But yeah, I feel like that out of everything, that's I really want to see that. I really want to see that. And for shows, um, I don't know. I guess for shows, probably season 6 of Cobra Kai, if indeed it does come out this year. Um, or I don't think Stranger Things is going to come out this year, but if that does, then yeah, that too. Um, but yeah, Last of Us is probably yeah. The Last of Us series is probably one I'm looking forward to watching the most. It's out. I know it's out already, but yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably that between that and Cobra Kai. Um, are my most anticipated shows that I'd want to see this year. But yeah, X Men 97. The X Men 97 sounds interesting. I like the idea of that, where it's basically, if you remember X-Men cartoon back in 1990s, well 1997 when it aired or when it ended, it's effectively taking that style of animation and continuing as if it just it's not like 20 years later or something. It's kind of just continues straight from there. So that's the idea
Mhm.
of X-Men 97. So yeah, that sounds really cool. And of course Loki season 2, I'm looking forward to that too as well. And Mandalorian season 3, I think that's out soon. um yeah, I'll probably watch that, but I'll say I'm not overly excited about it. I did like season 1 and 2 of it, but I feel like I'm kind of tapped out a little bit on Star Wars, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I'll hopefully still try and check it out, but I'm not too excited about season 3. Um, but there is a film that I want to check out. Another film I want to check out as well, which I think might be out already, but I just haven't got around to see it yet. But it's called Pathaan, which I don't know. I guess I'm kind of guessing you haven't heard of it, or have you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't. Okay. It's a Bollywood movie, and it stars Shah Rukh Khan. And for those who watch Bollywood movies or know anything about Indian cinema, then you already know that Shah Rukh Khan is a legend of an Indian cinema. Um, and so I've seen a bunch of his movies over the years, and this is the most recent one. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I mean, it's Shah Rukh Khan, so yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested. Yeah, I think it looks like from the trailer at least, it looks like an action movie, and he's done action movies before. Um, have you seen any Indian movies, by the way? Have you,
I'm not sure if this is an Indian movie, but I saw Slumdog Millionaire. I don't know if that's an
I
Indian
mean,
movie though, to be honest.
it's a British movie with mostly Indian actors, but I think the main cast is British Indian. Yeah. It's an Indian style movie, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
but not strictly speaking an Indian movie. I don't know if you want
As
to.
far
Yeah,
as like any Bollywood movies, no.
yeah,
But as far as predominantly Indian, I would say Slumdog Millionaire, if that counts.
yeah. That's the closest I
Because
get.
isn't Bollywood just, um, almost like, how to say, like what we over in America, what we call B action movies, where it's not anything necessarily like a serious film, right? Would
Okay,
it be considered a
so
Bollywood film, right?
not necessarily. I mean, so Bollywood really is kind of a misnomer, I would say, because that it was kind of like Hollywood, Bollywood, because movies were made in Bombay. It's Mumbai now because Bombay doesn't exist anymore, but that's another whole thing. But the Bollywood name kind of stuck. But yeah, it just kind of refers to Indian cinema, really, and that could be anything: action, romance, drama, all kinds of stuff, right? So it's not one specific genre. That being said, lots of Indian movies, kind of follow a pattern of having, say, a serious moment and then broken out into song and dance, and they tend to be quite long. So there is kind of a tradition that happens in a lot of Indian movies. There was a period of time when I was watching loads of Indian movies. This is maybe going back about 2010-ish, I think. And I just went through a period I was watching so many. So yeah, a lot of Shah Rukh Khan movies came up, like Don 2. By the way, who somebody in the might be who's more well versed in Indian movies, but well, actually that came out in 2000. You know what I mean? I'm going by memory here, okay? I'm going by memory, so I might have got some of the years wrong. Um, but yeah, Don 2. What else was there? Doctor Stana, Doom 2, Doom 3. So many. Kabikushi Gabigam. What else? Krish, Koi Milgaya. So many. And yeah, Shah Rukh Khan was definitely one of somebody who stood out as just being a good actor in good movies that I really enjoy watching. So, I mean, there's quite a few stars in this that I'm looking for that I like as well. So John Abrams is going to be in this movie as well. Well, it's in the movie, I should say. Um, uh, I'm saying name wrong. I'm sorry. Deepika Padukone is in this movie as well. And by the way, if I said anybody's name wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, there's a few stars in there that I'm like, okay, cool. I want to see this. So yeah, I believe it is actually out already. I just need to actually see it. But yeah, so anybody who's a fan of Indian cinema, just a fan of Shah Rukh Khan, or if you're just a fan of good movies, I mean, maybe Pathaan is one to check out at some point. But yeah, you probably gonna need to make some time for it because it's 2 hours and 30 minutes long almost. So yeah, they tend to be long movies. They tend to be long movies. So yeah, make some time. Um, Oh, Creed 3. Did I mention Creed 3? Yeah, that's coming
Yeah.
out this year. I'm looking forward to that. Scream 6 as well. Um, the Little Mermaid. Let's talk about the Little Mermaid for a second, if you don't mind, because I would say that that's on the list. Not so much because I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm sure it's going to be a good movie. I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm not overly interested in the Little Mermaid specifically. I didn't watch the animated movie. I've never read the Little Mermaid book. I think they made like 2 or 3 animated movies. I ain't seen any of them. But this movie gets announced as a live action movie, and some words get said about it. So, um,
Yeah.
this movie's coming out in there this year, at some point this year. I feel like at this point, it's got to be good. Like, they don't have the option to be mediocre, which is kind of a shame in one side of things because every movie should be able to just do what it does. You either like it or you don't. You know what I mean? It should be like that. But with everything that's been said about this film, if it's just mediocre or less, it will get torn apart. And that would be a big shame for me. So I'm kind of rooting for this film that it is fantastic, that it is brilliant, that it is undeniably great. You know. What's your thoughts on the Little Mermaid?
I never liked the animated film. I was never a fan. I didn't even like the music. Um, yeah, in fact, I didn't like the Little Mermaid, but I'm rooting for it because I don't want want them to be right. Everybody who's against the movie for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
For me, it's funny because I had a conversation uh, with one of my family members not too long ago. Like it had to be days ago about this, and my take on it is gonna be it might be a little controversial, but just everybody just hear me out first and not
Okay.
pick it apart and hear what the keywords and just go with that. Listen to it as a whole. Um, I'm not against it for like, oh, they made her black. She's a fucking mermaid.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, but I am tired of like, you know, having characters, you know, okay, she's supposed to be white or she looks white or whatever, right? And then you have somebody who's drastically different. You grab a black person, and you put them in those shoes.
Hmm.
My problem isn't with that necessarily. It's more like the feedback that this is gonna get, and it's never somebody else. It's never really, maybe it's just because it's not a big deal if it's anybody else. Like, you know, if they had somebody who's Asian or uh, Hispanic, whatever, right? Is always they grab somebody black and they say, now you're going to be in that role. We're going to go against all what's expected. It doesn't matter. We picked the perfect person for this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like you're putting us in a situation where now we're being targeted and we're being blamed for this as if it was our fault. We weren't the ones that made the decision.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm quite sure somebody reached out to her and said, "Hey, you should try out for this role." And they had every intention to hire her in the first place if she did well enough, you
Yeah.
know? But I don't think that they did that out of like, oh man, she's a big talent and I just can't really picture anybody else doing this role. It's not genuine. I believe that it's out of, for the sake of controversy or forcing this this painting this picture of like, oh, you see how diverse we are, you see how we don't really care and how we're breaking boundaries.
Mm.
That's not genuine.
Sure.
It's like it's like the motherfuckers who give food to the homeless people and they record themselves and they put it on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, to show off, like, see how good of a person I am. Like, no, you do shit genuine, then I can respect it. And I don't feel like this was a genuine move. I'm not saying that she's not talented. I just feel like out of her hands, they decided to do this for that reason, to make
Mm.
themselves look good. And now you got all this flack coming towards her and anyone else who's associated with her for no good reason. And I'm just tired of it. Like me, I'm exhausted of like, us being the ones to go to when you want to go ahead and promote diversity.
Mm.
Like, we don't always have to be the fucking target. Let's spread some of this hate a little bit and make it more even. Like,
Yeah,
why do
equal
you always
opportunities
grab a
hating.
black person? You know,
Uh,
I want black people to get opportunities, but I want us to have shit that's our own. Something more memorable rather than, okay, let's have her step in the shoes of this character that's already well known, already, we grew up on this character, so to speak. Not all of us, but some of us. We
mm.
know Ariel's a redhead, fucking pale ass mermaid, and now we got a black girl in there, and that's not the problem. The problem is, again, I don't feel like they genuinely cared about whoever was best gets the role. I think they just wanted to push that whole, like, yeah, we're so diverse. And I
Mm.
think a part of them also knew it was going to be controversial, because let me tell you, if it was anybody else, like, let's say they got somebody that looks like Ariel, the fictional character, they would have been like, "Oh man, this movie's gonna be bad. Just watch," and that would be it. That would be it. The conversation. You move
Mm.
on. But because they got somebody who's black, it was such a big controversy that now a film that would have just been mediocre and just swim under the fucking sea, no pun intended. Well, nah, pun intended. It just, now we're talking about this shit. Now we're waiting for it to come out. Now we're constantly bringing it up every now and again. The closer we get to it, it pisses me off personally. I'm tired of it. Stop using us as scapegoats and stop using us for this shit.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely an element of that in terms of casting. It's not new. It's been done before. At this point, that you take a character that is previously or say traditionally been played by, well, I wouldn't say a white actress because I mean the white voice actress, but in terms of visualized as a white character, um, you do that whether it's a white actress or white character, whatever it may be, and then you change it to a black character. There's this backlash, there's this thing, and yeah, I think there is definitely an element of trying to score woke points, so to speak, with that. That being said, I don't believe that's all the casting. I mean, granted, I've not seen Little Mermaid. I know very little about it, but what I do know is that it's a musical. At least it looks like it's going to be a musical, as a lot of Disney shows are. Um, and Halle Bailey, excuse me, let me say her name right. What's got respect in the name? Halle Bailey. Um, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, is one of the best singers in the world right now. Like, she is absolutely incredible as a singer. Now, I don't think I've seen any of the acting gigs. I don't believe I've seen any of the shows she's been in or anything. I know she has done some acting, but I don't think I've seen to mine. I'm just looking for her credits now, and yeah, I don't think I've seen any of these shows. Um, so I can't comment on that. But at the very least, she's an experienced actor. At the very least, she's someone who understands acting. So you've got someone who's an incredible singer who could act to at least a reasonable standard. I feel like that's okay. Maybe yeah, part of it is, oh yeah, let's score woke points. And I'm not going to deny that's probably part of why they choose certain people, trying to make themselves look good in the eyes of a particular crowd or whatever. Politics, unfortunately, it's kind of one of these things that play into how people get selected it or how people get promoted or unpromoted, and so on and so forth. I get that is a thing that happens, but at the same time, you know, she is an incredible talent, and if you kind of pick somebody to be as in a movie where the lead character has to sing, presumably throughout a good portion of the movie, and you can get somebody who is quite literally one of the best singers in the world right now. You know what I mean? Why not? And yeah, we could argue about this, and it's not cool when people just use things to for political gain, and I get it. That sucks. I'm not even saying that, but at the same time, she is still an incredible talent, and I feel like that is at least for me, that's the focus. That's the focus.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we can get too kind of bogged down into oh, but they're only doing it for this reason. It's like, okay, yes, they might be trying to gain something from it, but then at the same time, it's like, well, of course, it's Hollywood. Of course they're trying to gain something from it. Everybody they put in a movie, they feel like it gains something from it, whether they feel it can gain favor or money or both. Of course they feel like it gains something from it. So part of it is like, you know, accepting that's just kind of part of the cogs that to spin the whole clock around, right? It sucks, but it's there. At the same time, it's like this lady is an incredible talent. Like she is absolutely amazing as a singer. So I feel like for myself, that's got to be the focus on Halle Bailey in this role, and hopefully, hopefully, the script and the directing and everything else around this movie is just on point. Because yeah, like you said, if it's just well, like we'll say, like, if it is just mediocre, even though there's lots of people who already hate it for all the wrong reasons, if it is mediocre, it kind of just gives that some kind of weight. So yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping at least that this movie is just undeniably fantastic. And of course, nothing's gonna please everybody, but at least if it's on a point where it's like it's clear that certain movies are just clearly brilliant, and it's only the small amount of naysayers that talk against it, but it's just undeniably clearly a brilliant from a objectively objective point objective one day I'm going to learn how to talk. It's just objectively a great film. That's what I'm hoping. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I'd be jumping at the cinema to watch. I'll probably wait for the Disney Plus release and check it out there. But yeah, I'm hoping this is a great movie, and yeah, Halle Bailey, in my opinion, is a great choice for this movie. At least based on what I know about her. Like I said, I don't know much about her acting, but I'd have to assume she's at least somewhat good at it. But she is definitely an incredible singer. And a movie that involves singing, why not have a great singer?
Hmm.
So yeah, yeah, that's my kind of take.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I haven't heard her sing personally.
Oh,
I think I
dude.
heard one of her songs,
Oh,
and that's
dude, you
about it.
need to, man. Oh, her and her sister. They've got about I think 2 albums or 3 albums. But yeah, mate, their last album they did together, Unholy Hour, mate, that is incredible, dude. You need to check that out. You need to
Okay.
check out all their albums, really. But yeah, that last album, Unholy Hour. Oh, sorry, Unholy Hour or Godly Hour? Ungodly Hour. Excuse me. It's called Ungodly Hour. But yeah, both Halle Bailey and Chloe Bailey, they're both incredible singers. So yeah, Chloe and Halle, yeah, definitely check out their stuff and that last album. Yeah, excellent, excellent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got high expectations.
Well, like I say, maybe don't have expectations. Actually, boy, I just set it up, didn't I? Earlier I'm saying don't have expectations, and I'm giving you expectations, but just contradicts myself in one podcast. I think it's an excellent album. Let me say that. I think it's an excellent album, and I think they're an amazing singers. And yeah, I think you might enjoy it. I think you can enjoy it. I mean, if you like R&B, if you like um, singers along that kind of line. I mean, they're very much like old souls and new bodies, if that makes sense. Like their
Yeah.
style is very like influenced by a lot of the old school singers. A lot of old school jazz singers you can hear influence in their style and their voice. So yeah. Or other thing you could do actually, if you ain't got time to check out 3 albums or 2 3 albums, if you go to YouTube and search for Chloe and Halle Tiny Concert,
Hmm.
Tiny Room Concert, or whatever it's called, Tiny. I'm sure it's called Tiny Concert, Tiny Concert. That anyway, it's a Tiny Concert. Search that. It's like 20 minutes. That will give you a good flavor of their style and their songs. But yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. So yeah, big up Halle Bailey all day every day. But yeah, but yeah, I guess that's I think that's just about. I mean, it's not everything, of course. There's loads of stuff coming out this year and things that came out last year, but I think that's about all the stuff to mention for now. Or was there any other movies or shows that you wanted to highlight?
Man, honestly, nah. I just have to catch up on a bunch of shows that already came out. I just need to go backwards pretty much and watch that. The only thing that I've been watching up to date right now, um, I mean, South Park just came out with a new episode this week. So they're finally back again. I just hope that it's not just for 8 episodes again, like it's been for the past few years or past few times they came, I should say. Um, I've been watching The Last of Us, and
Okay, you started on that. Okay.
yeah, pretty fucking good. I'm actually surprised that I'm enjoying it as much as I did. I wasn't expecting it to be bad. I just was like, all right, I played the game. I played the game, and I wasn't really, you know, huge on the game. I liked the game a lot, but I was more into the gameplay more than the story.
Mm.
And I remember the first time um, I played, no, I actually watched somebody play The Last of Us Part One before I played it myself. The first time I played it, I mean, the first time I watched it be played, the ending, I was like, I didn't really like the ending. But then when I played it myself, I understood it. It's funny because that shows you like just because you watch somebody play something doesn't mean that you're gonna have the same
Yeah,
reaction
no, for
if
sure,
you play
for
it
sure.
firsthand. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to getting into The Last of Us. Like I said, I'm just trying to wait till it's all out. Because it's on a service over here called you got like HBO. So I guess the closest equivalent we have is Now TV, where they tend to have a lot of the bigger shows and the bigger movies and that kind of thing. But it's a pretty expensive streaming service, so I tend to like not have it every month and just like get it every so often when they got things that I want to watch. So yeah, my plan is to wait till it's all out. Just get it for that 1 month and then binge watch that. Maybe watch a few other things as well while I'm there, but mainly just binge watch that. And then yeah, we need to talk about that on a future podcast. Methinks. Even though I have not seen it yet, I already know we need to talk about it. So yeah, I'm looking for. Hopefully, I can get. I mean, I think it's. I mean, actually, what was the last episode they showed then? Actually, if you're watching it, what was how many episodes they shown so far?
I think it's four.
They've shown. Okay, so it should be about 4 to go then.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
cool.
the
So
third episode was the one that everybody was talking about. But honestly, it was blown out of proportion, in my opinion, on both sides. People who were against it and people who were for it.
yeah, believe I did hear about the third episode. I didn't read too much details because I'm trying to avoid spoilers, of course. But
Yeah.
yeah, That's the one with uh, uh, uh no, Billy, no.
I forgot the actor's name, but you played
Yeah,
The
I'm trying
Last
to.
of Us, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the dude's name,
So,
but yeah, you meet
so
him
yeah, it's just
relatively
about
early on
Bill.
in the game. Bill, that's it. Yeah, Bill,
Yeah.
and his partner. Um, and I understand they make some changes to the story, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I know some
I
people
mean,
don't
the
like.
changes they made, it's not like as big as you may think. If anything, it was something like, yeah, this is a live action adaptation. So it's like, get over it. It's not anything like drastically different. Like, honestly, if you played the fucking game and you were paying attention, is nothing drastically different. If anything, they made like an improvement on
Mm,
something, and you're like, okay, this is nice. And it wasn't honestly, it really felt like people were blown out of proportion. You had people saying, "Oh man, you got to see the episode. It's so heart warming," and "Oh man, it made me bawl like a bitch." Da 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 da. And then on the other side, it's like, "Wow, they're always fucking doing this, always making changes they don't need to make." And it's like both of
mm,
you are crazy. Both sides are crazy. For me, I really enjoyed the episode. And I mean, of course, we're going to be able to go into more detail about it at length. But if I'm just going to sum it up, I enjoyed it. It was a really good episode. Not as good as everybody's been hyping it up to be. So, that's why I hate when people go crazy over something that is not that crazy.
mm,
But again, you got to understand that a lot of people who are watching this, they never played the game. They don't even know that as a game.
yeah, yeah. I guess
So,
that's always a thing. You reach a new crowd of people who aren't necessarily gamers, and okay.
yeah.
Um, Cool. I'm just looking at it now. It looks like there's about maybe 9 or 10 episodes in this season, so it might be a little while
Oh,
before I
that's
finally
good.
start binge watching it. But yeah, hopefully, God willing, in the not too distant future, I'll be getting to The Last of Us and seeing what the fuss is about, innit? Um, but yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty much it for now. Then for this uh, first episode of the Uncivilized Art podcast for 2023. We talked a little bit about the stuff from last year, talked a little about stuff we're looking forward to this year. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and talked about a little about stuff to expect from the podcast, even though I did talk about not having expectations. Contradict myself. We do that sometimes. Um, but yeah, I think that's gonna be it for now. So let me try and be a little bit professional and come over here, and then oof, flipping out. Stop. There we go. That should look a bit better now. Uh, and yeah, so guys, thank you for watching and or listening. Any suggestions or recommendations of whether guests to interview, things to talk about, topics, blah blah blah, drop in the comments, hit me up on Twitter, all that, Uncivilized Arts on Twitter, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, until whenever, if ever, peace.